Hello and welcome to On The Esky. On today's show, we're going to take a deep dive look into the rounds of NRL and AFL that are coming up, which would be round 15 and 14.
15 and 14, yep.
From memory. Then we're going to jump into the NBA Playoffs, have a chat about that and probably some other international sports news. There is cricket. The second test between England and New Zealand has concluded. And then the World Test Championship preview of Kiwis versus India is coming up. Then we'll do a final round of the UFC 263. Sorry, we'll do a final round wrap-up. We're going to have a look at UFC 263. Golf, tennis, and then the Euros are in the first week, so some soccer, plus whatever else stuff that takes our interest. This is On The Esky, our sports podcast, and I've got the three boys with me as well.
What's happening?
Yeah.
How are we, man?
Not
Busy
bad.
week of sport. Looking over the notes. Geez, bit of everything this
A
week.
lot going on. Let's get stuck straight into it with a shout of beer.
You go first, Max?
Who are you shouting a beer this week, please?
Yeah, so I'm going to shout a beer out to Roman Grosjean. Had a bit of a rough week, so because of everything that's happening in Formula One, races being moved around, his test for Mercedes, which was going to be his first step back into an F1 car since his fiery crash at the end of last season, has been postponed due to travel restrictions and quarantine requirements. They just weren't going to be able to make it, so having a bit of a rough week.
Too many logistics.
That's it. So he deserves a beer after that, but he might deserve another beer because earlier on in the week he was racing in IndyCar, which he switched across to after his F1 season, and his car caught on fire. So
Give it up, man. Give it up. It's on the card for you, Roman.
that's it. Yeah, he'll need it to put it out. So jumping out of one fiery car, jumping straight into another one. So it looks like what happened, 11 laps left in the race in the Detroit Grand Prix. Brakes heated up and caught on fire. Had to jump out. Ran across to a marshal, got a fire extinguisher, tried to put it out himself. Probably a little bit easier to put out than his last fiery crash. And then, the marshals came in and help him sort it out. So bit of a rough week. Probably deserves one or two beers.
He come away unscathed, did he?
Yeah, unscathed.
Yeah, good stuff.
Still amazing.
Got out straight away,
how
but-
they-
Unbelievable.
That's incredible.
It's crazy,
that he can
yeah.
walk away from that.
So then my shout a beer. I'm going to shout a beer out to a new Mexican-born UFC champion, and Brandon Moreno. He's the first official Mexican-born champion. They've had a few Mexican champions, none, of course, originally born in Mexico. Cain Velasquez, Henry Cejudo, I think, as well. And there's another one that's escaping me, but he's the first official Mexican-born that's come through. So a beer to you from me on the Esky.
Cerveza.
There you go.
Una cerveza, por favor.
On an excellent fight, and we'll cover that later on when we get to UFC 263 and how he did against Figueroa. But that's my shout-out beer for this week.
Joseph, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, well, we're going all around the globe for this one. This is the second time I'm shouting this bloke a beer, and I gave him a beer a couple of weeks ago because he was on the up and he was flying. He deserved a celebratory beer. It's Chris Paul, but unfortunately this beer is a little bit more somber for the poor bugger. He's got the cocoa. He's got the, just after coming off a clean sweep of the Denver Nuggets. We talked about, how he's a coach. He's a coach wearing a Suns uniform out there. But he was lighting up the playoffs. He lit that series up. Not only was he making everyone around him better, he was scoring the basketball at will. One of those games, I think he scored 10 buckets in a row or something to that effect. So just absolutely horrid luck for the bloke, and he's famously never played in a finals before. He's the point
crazy,
guard. You'd probably say the greatest point guard of the modern era. Steph Curry obviously probably takes that, but he's right there. He's a Hall of Fame player as soon as he's eligible. And I just went to see his Western because I thought he might have played in the Western Conference with the Clippers, but his only appearance in the conference finals was with Houston, and you remember him and Harden, they were up 3-2 against the Warriors, and then he did his hammy, so he missed games 6 and 7. Rockets had leads in both those games, and famous, I think they missed 26 threes in a row against the Warriors and bounced out. So just horrid luck for Paul. He's gone into an isolation,
10 days.
10 days, something.
Yep.
So you just hope for his sake, the Clippers Jazz series goes long, and then if he can hopefully get in there for some part of this.
Yeah,
series,
he's probably a little bit lucky that situation as well, because hopefully that series will go 7, so he can get at least a couple of those days out, and he won't miss the complete next season. And I think to get over his 10 days, he had to have back-to-back COVID tests negatives, so that maybe he'd come back a little bit earlier as well. So he'd be hoping for a very long series. So that
the longer the better for him and Suns. It's just shocking.
For the Suns as well. That's excellent. We'll probably get to that. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to that in the NBA. But yeah, Chris Paul, while you're in isolation, hopefully they can sneak a beer in for you, mate. On Mac.
Might be Corona.
Some of your best there early on in the Esky.
Would have been funny 2 years ago, I'd imagine. I am going to shout out the country of Denmark. I think that's over 5 million people. Get stuck into a nice ice-cold Carlsberg. Geez, heart in your mouth kind of scenes on the weekend with Christian Eriksen dropping down, and he's okay. That's the big thing to come out of this. There's some kind of cardiac issue there on the field, and a bloke that deserves 2 Carlsbergs. I'll shout him 2. Danish captain Simon Kjær. He acted really well under duress. He was the first person there checking on the Danish superstar. Got the boys to form the ring around, so the cameras weren't picking up everything, and was also there consulting Christian's partner to behave like that when one of your best mates and your teammate is down, and who knows. To be that brave and strong under duress. Simon, he deserves a couple Carlsbergs, and the rest of Denmark.
100%.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'll shout them.
That
can come out of the Esky budget.
Big time.
Yeah. I think we've got room for that.
Yeah, sure do.
The umpire as well, he was able to stop the game pretty quickly. And get the
referee
sorry,
in football.
Thank you, Paps. I wasn't going to. I'm glad you did.
We chop and change between sports. It can be very easy.
If we're going to talk about every sports, we're going to talk about the officials
That's
properly.
right.
The dude that needs glasses, essentially.
Yeah. He's always a pain at him.
Yeah, but he got the medical staff out pretty quick as well. And yeah, that's crucial seconds.
And we'll probably talk about that in a bit more detail as well when we get into the Euros and the soccer section.
Indeed, but we shall start off with the week that was in rugby league. Probably the biggest news coming out of the NRL this week, and kind of bittersweet, I guess, was the retirement of Boyd Cordner. The 29-year-old announced Tuesday that he'll be stepping away from the game. 183 first-grade games for the Roosters. 50 tries in those 183 games. Pretty good conversion rate there for a back rower. And he did it all, essentially. 3 premierships with the Chooks. He was captain, or co-captain, I should say, for 2 of those. 16 games for New South Wales. 3 Origin Series wins. Captain for 2 of those. 20 games for Australia. Won the Rugby League World Cup in 2017. He was the only try scorer in that 6-0 win over England. What did you make of this, boys? It's been well documented in the last 6 months. His head knocks.
I thought we should mention that the cause of his retirement essentially has been the ongoing concussion issues that he had to finish off last season. Hasn't played a game at all this year. They were trying to manage him and get him right for round 12. That's kind of where they were aiming, and they were pretty confident that in the off season that they would be able to manage that. But obviously he's, we're now around 15, but he stepped away. He's had a look at his health, long-term health. And I think, he was very emotional in his press conference, fighting back tears the entire time, but also very wary of his future and understanding hey, this, I'm 29. I've got probably, a good wicket, another 60, 70 years to go. You don't want to waste all that time now and he wants to have a well-lived future going forward.
For sure, and that's probably why I use the term bittersweet. Bitter in the fact that the game's lost an absolute superstar, but sweet that he can put it to bed and get on with his life, and he has got absolutely fucking nothing to prove. Done it all in a shorter career. And is probably toughness personified. Like you look you look at some of those highlights, and the way that he put his body on the line for his teammates, and
you look at the concussions that he actually got, and you can see the way he's an absolute gladiator of the sport.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely no regard for his own body, and that kind of toughness. Your teammates love it, the fans love it, but at the end of the day, you do have to think about your own long-term well-being. So, yeah.
I think he used the words he couldn't forgive himself if he got another head knock. So you think about the conversations he's had with himself and his family, but just that line just sort of gives you a little bit chills nearly. I couldn't forgive myself if I got another head knock, knowing what he's been through. What he probably still has to go through if he still hasn't played a game. There's ongoing stuff already. So to get another one on top of that, he couldn't. For whatever reason, just for some reason that really hit with me. He couldn't forgive himself. Not anyone else. He couldn't forgive himself if that happened. And the effects that happened. And I get, like we said, he's not even 30 yet. So
it's younger than half of us. So.
The other thing I thought with this, we don't want to we go long enough, but I think Sean and Peps, you were talking about it last week. Looking at that, because the news is the news. They show a lot of his head knocks. Most of them were making the tackle. So a lot of this stuff with the NRL trying to protect head knocks and protect that stuff.
Well, high contact in the what would you call it, contest?
Yeah, exactly right. But you guys had the stats there. A majority of them are actually the guy without the ball, the one charging in there. And like you said, Peps, he's so courageous. He dives head first. Doesn't matter. That's the stuff that you get rid of. How do you get rid of courage? How do you get rid of passion for your team and putting your teammates first? How do you?
It's a really interesting point you bring up, Mac, because I think Boyd Cordner, as part of his press conference, actually alluded to the fact that his lower tackling technique did lead to a lot of his concussions, and there were a few. There was the classic one, I think Hargraves they both go low and they come around the back of the defender, clash heads, and you don't want to be hitting heads with Hargraves. He's just got concrete in there. So, and I think the stats were, in the last 2 years, he'd had 7 HIs. I think Friend was 10, and I think 9 of his were tackle related, where he was the tackler. And of Boyd Cordner's 7, I think only 2 were him as the ball carrier. The rest were all again tackling. So,
and they're 2 blokes that probably put 80 tackles together between them again. So it's a lot of repetitive.
But both they're essentially captain and co-captain of the Chooks as well. So they're leading by example. They're the ones that probably have to put the most effort into their tackles to kind of try and build morale and build momentum essentially. But it's really interesting that, what did I say? The roughly 20 odd head knocks, that 80% of them were from them being tackling someone than actually being the ball carrier. And we talked a little bit interesting about Friend. All his latest head knocks were after he stopped wearing headgear, knowing probably, of course, the headgear probably wouldn't have prevented the concussions, and that's maybe why he stopped wearing it, because the technology they've got for rugby league, headgear is not real great. It's essentially a bit of padding. That's about it.
I think there's good evidence to show that it stops cuts and abrasions.
That's what it. Yeah, that's what
skull fractures.
Yep. Does it stop concussion?
No. What's your brain rattling around? So you have your head rattles.
Another sport that we love, the NFL. Everyone's wearing a helmet and hasn't done much to stop it there. So
and they were again brought in through history, and they've changed from the leather helmets to more of the plastic type helmets because they were worried about skull fractures. They had a lot of guys getting skull fractures. Well, how do we prevent this? Let's wear a helmet. But it hasn't necessarily prevented any concussions, and they do. They're dropping bucket loads of money into their helmet research at the moment, and they study every new helmet that comes out to try and give a rating for concussions. But it's just one of those things that's really hard to do, because you essentially got to absorb an impact from one side of the head and try and get it to go essentially around the head, so the skull doesn't intake any of that impact and then bounce the head inside.
We don't have that technology.
Exactly. There's no material
defies
that would,
the laws of physics at the moment.
So. would do that. So
Anyways, just wanted to mention that he'll go out as a legend, and had nothing to prove at the end, and he'll be sorely missed, and wishing him all the best with his future endeavours.
Definitely. I guarantee he'll be their coach in the Chooks next week, and for the foreseeable future, especially with Craig Fitzgibbon going over to...
could slot straight into an assistant role.
Wouldn't surprise me.
The halves merry-go-round, so it came out during the week that we were talking about Matt Duffy last week. Apparently you can add Corey Norman to that list of unwanted at the Dragons.
Yeah, that's the big one to add to that list. of potential halves on the merry-go-round.
Yep, Sean Johnson. It's been well documented that the Sharks aren't after his services next year. Anthony Milford and Ash Taylor are out of favour up north of the border.
$1 million men that haven't earned their paycheck recently.
Do we see? Is there any suitable fits for these boys? Obviously, South Sydney will be looking for a 7, losing Adam Reynolds. Do any of them fit that mould?
So Sean Johnson, I think, has been the recent talk there for that, but of course nothing official. Milford replacing Ash Taylor has been talked about if he stays in Queensland. But I don't think that makes sense.
So something that's come into my kind of field of vision this last week, and I was a bit hesitant towards it last week. Anthony Milford joining Ben Hunt at Anthony Griffin's Brisbane Broncos.
The Illawarra Broncos, you mean?
Exactly, the St George Illawarra Broncos. I think
I mentioned this to you last week. And
I kind of poo-pooed it, and then I kind of went back and I thought, oh God. It could happen. It could happen. Ash Taylor, goodness knows where he might end up. But interesting, isn't it? You've never seen a position just going round and round and round like this.
And there's also Gareth Widdop. So the Raiders need to fill a spot.
Apparently he wants to come back. George Williams, you can add to that list, looking for a club.
Real homesick. Yeah, just get out. You can see him more as I always think of like a specific position like halfback. They're more like dominoes than merry-go-round. They're all waiting to see where the first one drops, which will open another one, and then you'll see them all fall.
It's a nice analogy.
Thank you.
Coin that here on the Esky.
On the Esky, shout out.
Intellectual property
right at the table.
Joseph McGrath. Yeah,
Thank you.
The halfback domino effect.
There you go.
Who knows? Who fucking knows? It changes week by week.
Yeah, exactly right. New name. We get a new name popping up every week.
I imagine we'll be talking about it next week.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yep. Yeah, and with the player market in the NRL, it happens throughout the entire year. So,
Anyways, let's move into the preview of round 15. The game that we're currently watching is the Brisbane Broncos taking on South Sydney Rapidos up there at Suncorp Stadium. It's only 8 minutes into the game, 0-0. That will go on in front of our eyes during this episode. The Bronx last week, they were embarrassed by the Canberra Raiders down here. Coming off that shock win against the Roosters a few weeks ago. Since then, belted by the Storm, belted by the Dragons, belted by the Raiders. They've just been sliding down the ladder. They're actually equal with Canterbury on points and points difference. The back-to-back spoon is becoming a real reality here for the Brisbane Broncos. I suppose the biggest talking point for them was the Kobe Hetherington send-off. Yep. You boys all saw this one, I imagine. Thoughts? It's a penalty. Yeah.
Yeah.
Past that, probably not.
Yeah. I think
we're in a weird world at the moment, though. So
yeah, but
it was 100% accidental. Like the dude gets tripped over and is falling into his shoulder essentially. Like the bloke that's there can't really do it. Like Hetherington in this regard couldn't do anything and get out of the way of that.
Corey Herrera-Nara gets ankle tapped and essentially falls into Kobe Hetherington's shoulder.
And he gets sent off. Like, it's not even a sin bin. Yeah. It's a straight send-off.
Mate, it's a penalty.
Because it looks like...
I don't think it's a sin binning.
Yeah.
Like, and I get, like, you want to look after the player, but it's completely out of Hetherington's control there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
accidents happen. They got to, I guess,
take where's the line between it being accidental and deliberate? Like,
yeah, because I thought it was forceful and
intent. That's what you got to take into account. Anyways, the judiciary saw it the same way we did. Hetherington got a fine and did so you get sent off, but you don't get suspended. Like, work that out.
Exactly, and they got to play with 12 men for the rest of the game.
And to be fair, it didn't change the outcome.
No, they were going to get spanked.
I think they were down 32-10 at the time of the incident. There's 20 minutes left, so it doesn't actually change the outcome. But yeah, it's a silly precedent.
Well, it probably changed the outcome of all the fans there. They might be like, "Oh, we're going to win this. We'll get out of here and get on the road and get home."
Yeah, maybe beat the traffic. Yeah. That bad Canberra traffic. Anyways, what's going on with Corey Oates? He's was playing for Queensland Maroons year before last, and now he can't get a game for the Brisbane Broncos. Have you heard much on this?
It's also interesting to bring up as you mentioned before, they're fighting off the wooden spoon. I think Kevin Walters has put everyone on notice. So I think they're looking at possibly 10 players leaving Brisbane. Corey Oates, of course, is on about $500,000, $500K a year at the moment.
Reasonable money for a winger.
And he tore it up last week for South Logan. I think he had 200 plus run meters, 2 tries, I think a try assist, and like 3 or 4 line breaks. Couldn't get a game this week. So
that's got to be, for mine, on the outside looking in, some kind of coachability, rubbing the wrong way kind of thing.
Maybe. So the report was Oates fronted. Not shirt fronted.
Didn't Tony Abbott?
Kevin Walters asked Kevy, was like, why are you not picking me? Kevin came out in the media today and said, it wasn't as, what would you say, aggressive as you think it would be. It was more, we had a conversation about what I'm expecting from him and what he needs to work on to get back into the side. He's tearing it up for South Logan. If he does it again this week, you can't pick him, essentially. He's played himself into a bit of form. But having said that, Brisbane suck at the moment. So I don't think a winger is going to help them very much.
No.
And
that's fair enough. And Selwyn Cobbo, to his credit, his replacement, has made a good start in the NRL. You wouldn't...
But, Xavier Coates is not going to be there next year. So...
Well, do you drop a Origin winger?
You're losing by an average over 20 plus points. I don't think it matters.
Yeah, true.
But exactly. For next having an Origin player there, someone who's someone who's been around good teams, it's a veteran player.
Yeah. He's not just a winger. He's a bloke that you can play as an edge back rower. He's got the body to do it.
The other thing is he is signed for next season as well, so he's going to be at the club unless they boot him out. So,
what do you think? Do you think it's a thing of, we were talking about it the other week with the AFL? Are you just like rotating players in and out so you can see what they're capable of for next season?
Oh my God, that flick pass.
Sexy.
Oh my God. Who was that? Was that Benji?
No.
Benji's not playing.
Latrell's just busted over. It might have been Gagai.
Yeah.
That's a naughty little flick pass.
It's one of the hardest passes of the Gagai, and he goes inside ball back to Latrell, who scores for the first points of this game.
He had Johnson on his outside, probably walking in here.
Reynolds.
Yeah, but the style plays.
It's Cody Walker.
Cody Walker's a naughty little bunny.
Naughty bunny. Yeah, very naughty bunny there.
I think
cracking some Easter eggs there, isn't he?
I think you also got to blame Carmichael Hunt on this. Welcome back to football, because he chases Gagai too much here instead of sticking to his man. Which he comes all the way across and is not covering Latrell inside. Oh, my bad.
But yeah, poor read, I think, there from Carmichael.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyways, speaking about South Sydney, 24-10 winners last week against the Newcastle Knights. Alex Johnston, hat-trick. Like water's wet. Alex Johnston scores a hat-trick. 15 on the season. He's second in the NRL behind Josh Addo-Carr. His third try, I don't know if any of you boys caught this, was his entire body was out of the field of play except for his hand and the ball. Just got it down. Now, look, the bloke did play outside Greg Inglis for the better part of the back end of his career. He's got 121 tries in his career now. And just for a bit of perspective, same amount as Jared Hayne, Tamana Tahu, Nathan Blacklock.
Nathan Blacklock's done well to get in there.
Oh, mate.
I'm sorry.
Try scoring machine.
Marks, I'm going to put you to work early. Can you get the strike rate for try scorers in the NRL? I've got a feeling he'd be very, very high up there.
Have a look. I can't imagine.
Tries per game. Sorry, that might be hard to find.
I can't. Just look up Alex Johnston. I can't imagine he's played 140 games. He'd
he's
26.
He'd be close to 200.
It's his fifth season.
He's 26. Nah. He's 26. He probably started as an 18-year-old. He might be in his 8th season. Off the top of the
825s to 200. He'd be very close to 200.
Monks will bring it up, I'm sure.
I don't think he's that.
But again, that's what I mean. I think his strike rate would be very, very high.
Well, I'm just saying, if he doesn't get hurt, we might be watching the most prolific try scorer in NRL history.
He's the only bloke.
Not an Origin player.
Not an Origin player.
Well, look at Hazem El Masri. He was a leading point scorer forever and never.
Correct. And different body type, smaller, quick kind of guy.
Well, pick the same team. Nathan Merritt was probably the guy that had the similar sort of strike rate to Alex Johnson.
Well, and I tell you,
one Origin of that.
I think Nathan Merritt scored 150 tries. Like, he's going to overtake Merritt next season the way he's going.
Nathan Merritt.
So
Anyways, little tidbit there.
No, that's good. Yeah, he just always seems to score a try. Like, anytime try scorer for those gamblers out there.
Yeah.
Well, I think the point is he's the only current player that I think could. It was within shooting distance of Irvine's record.
Yeah. Well, the way he's going. Yeah.
There's no one else that could. If he sustains this pace, he's the only one currently playing that'll even get close.
He's 26 years old. He's played 157 games, 121 tries. Nathan Merritt has 154, so he's 35 tries away from becoming South Sydney's all-time leading try scorer.
So this is 7th year?
2014.
Or 8th? No, maybe we're
8th, I think. Yeah, inclusive. Anyways, tips, please, in this game.
I think we're all gone South. Yeah.
I was South by 20. That was my
South Sydney,
margin.
South
I said
Sydney,
22, so yeah.
South Sydney. Glory.
I kept doing the scroll down. I was like, no, it's going to be more than that.
Yeah, but these ones where you just go like that and
Flick and where it lands, you're like, 32,
right.
sure. Why
Yeah.
not?
Close
Yeah.
enough.
All right, moving in tomorrow night. North Queensland Cowboys take on the Cronulla Sharks, 6 p.m. Queensland Country Bank Stadium. Cowboys, they started off okay last week against Manly. They scored the first 2 tries. Final scoreline, not so much, 50-18. Tom Dearden had his debut for the Cows. Bit quiet.
I lost by 7 tries, 6 tries. So
Yeah. I'll tell you who wasn't quiet. Scott Drinkwater, 3 try assists. He looks like he'll be really challenging up there when Chad Townsend comes up to try and retain a halves position. The Sharks handed the Panthers their second consecutive loss, I should say. That wobbly Sean Johnson field goal. We were watching it. We thought, geez, that didn't go over. And then their boys were up and about. Sean Johnson was not bad, especially in that first half. They got out to an 18-0 lead. Another sad story. Wade Graham copped a head knock. He's going to probably miss a month, they reckon. I think that's his 3rd this season. Wishing him all the best with his recovery.
There was a bit of noise about his injuring his knee as well because he got up and hyperextended his knee with a bit of loose legs, but he seemed to be
I think the knee came back okay.
The knee came back okay.
Yeah, it didn't look great.
The head knocks are a bit of a worry because, like you said, I think it's either 3 or 4 already this year, and that's not real great.
And similar to Boyd as well, a bloke that just throws his body around with no regard for it. And
Well, we just saw before.
Sometimes you can be too tough for your own good, kind of thing.
Well, we just saw in the Souths game, Adam Reynolds and one of the other forwards for South both went low, went right around head knock. One got cut open, and they've left Adam Reynolds out there, but he came away a bit dusty from that one.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. What are we thinking here, lads? Up there in North Queensland, the Sharks have kind of turned their season around the last few weeks. I've gone the Cowboys, but I'm not confident one bit, and I shan't be punting on the winner of this.
No, I've gone the opposite. I'm gone the Sharkies because I think Sean Johnson back, he's playing for contract essentially. Yep. So, losing Wade Graham's huge for them, but they've got some players that we put on notice there for next year that are going to need to earn their coin, and I think they may be able to. They've got a good squad. I think they should be able to put it over the Cowboys. Cowboys got young halves and are kind of still trying to find their way at this point.
I've gone. I'm with Sean. I'm with the Sharkies.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we talked about them against Penrith. We thought, maybe they could cover, maybe they'll be able to cover, and they ended up beating them. So, I don't know, ride the hot hand, I think. Although it is up there. It is up there in North Queensland. So
you know what fucked up our tips last week? They
named all the
Origin dudes except Cleary were named, and then as closer and closer to game time, they're like, by the way, Toto's not playing. By the way, Luai's not playing. Oh, by the way, Yo's not playing. Liam Martin.
Who's the only one?
He came off the bench.
Kurt Capewell didn't play as well.
Yep.
As Adam Reynolds goes off for his HI as expected. Monks, who did you pick?
Mind, your tip and the odds, please.
Yep. I have backed the Cowboys as well.
Ooh,
Desmond.
An early one.
Started strong this week. They are favourites, $1.71. Sharks are out at $2.15.
Close line, 6 points.
Closer than that, 2.5. Yeah.
And I just one last point. I've spoken about it before on the Esky. The people from the Shire are not crossing the bridge over into the St George region to go watch their team play at their temporary home, Netstrata Jubilee Stadium. dismal crowd, 5,200, let's call it, last week. To watch them take on and beat the NRL leading Penrith Panthers. Geez, hopefully when Shark Park's had its lipstick manicure job done next year, they get a few fans down there because fuck me, they are not showing up at all, and it is not far. Yeah. It is not far to go across that bridge.
It's just ScoMo and no one else in the crowd at the moment.
Yeah, ScoMo, big week up at the G7 Summit this week. I don't think he was there.
Yeah, fly back just to see the Sharkies get
flew back to catch the latest episode of On The Esky. Shout out to you, Scott, if you're listening.
You can listen to that worldwide though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there is something called the internet. Yeah. Anyways, that's not
Shout
good.
out to all our international listeners.
Yeah, not good gear there regarding Scott Morrison. Let's go into tomorrow's blockbuster game. If you wouldn't mind, the Penrith Panthers suffered 2 consecutive defeats on the trot. They take on the Sydney Roosters.
The baby Panthers, let's call them what they are.
Baby Panthers did. They shall be a full-strength Panthers this week. They nearly come back from that 18-0 deficit against the Sharks. I'll tell you who was good. Matt Burton. 2 tries, try assists, 470 kick metres, something that obviously when Luai and Cleary are there, he has got nothing to do with. The Doggies fans will be very happy about him going over to Bankstown next year. Viliama Kikau out this week with a hammy. The Roosters, 35-34 winners over the Gold Coast Titans. They're up 30-10, and then Ben Marshke got binned. I think this was actually a fair binning. Essentially left his feet, turned his body, and copped Jamal Fogarty with the end of his elbow there. He'll miss 2 weeks because of that. And because of that, the Titans came back big time. They actually got a lead in this. Matt Ikuvalu with a late try, and then followed by Sammy Walker, field goal to win. Big stuff from the 18-year-old.
Talk about strike rates, but Ikuvalu would be up there as well, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
When he plays, anytime try scorer, Jesus, he's not bad at all.
Well, I think that's Walker's second field goal for a winner this season as well.
Yeah, for an 18-year-old. Not bad at all. Here's one for you. So we spoke about Boyd Cordner at length before. Nathan Friend a couple of weeks before, say a month ago, and Brett Morris last week. So that's 3 legends retiring. 2 ACLs this year, Luke Keary and Lindsay Collins. If they make a prelim final, that's a huge achievement. I'm not talking about winning the comp. If they even just go deep in September, they've done a massive, massive job. And look, as a Dragons fan, you know, we got the Anzac Day clash. There's a bit of history. 2010 grand final. People should look that up. You know, normally I'd say a wounded chook. You know, I love to see it.
Good,
love to see
it's
it.
good for the comp.
The Bachelor's handbag. Learn that one. That's a roast chook from Woolies. The Bachelor's handbag. Love to see it normally, but geez. I actually feel sorry for him this year. I never thought I'd catch myself saying that, but they have been decimated.
Here's a thought for you to think about. They've got Sam Walker and Suwali there who are 18 and 17. They've just lost Cordner, who was on $800K a year.
Cap space.
Friend was on big money. Yep. So they've got plenty of cap space. They've got all the young boys going through. They've got cap space. So I wouldn't be...
we'll check back in this time next year. We'll see if you still feel sorry
when they're undefeated.
And they beat the Dragons 50-0 on Anzac Day.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm with you. But right now, I empathise.
Yeah. Give it to the young boys for playing out of their skin at the moment.
That's a botch.
I think Saka knocks that on. But yeah, they've botched that. That's
not a sucker. You're not a Broncos fan anymore.
Oh, no.
He got dropped.
He did get dropped. Yeah, Latrell's butchered that, and they've kind of lost their way since Adam Reynolds has gone off.
Tessie Nui.
I think he was playing centre for them at the start of the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sarko.
Could be gone. Tigers, maybe.
Victor Radley, what do we make of this? Kicked off a flight, a little bit intoxicated.
Perhaps have you ever been kicked off a flight?
Never. No. Have I been a little bit intoxicated on a flight?
I would hope so.
Full disclosure. A couple times. Never been removed from one.
You got to be pretty pissed to get kicked off a flight.
Well, he wasn't the only one. So it was him and obviously the group he'd gone up to watch the game of footy. I think it was on the Gold Coast from memory. So they all got kicked off. So he was
It's not a long flight. That's not a long flight.
No.
You've got to be pretty pissed.
I think the pre-game.
Well, the airport beer is one of the better
and
beers
post-game.
there are, but
I can tell you from personal experience flying to Adelaide on the weekend, very difficult to order one beer. So if you're doing
big time.
If the damage was done on the flight, well done, boys. You've got the attention of the flight attendants.
No, I think they were boarding and were probably overly rowdy and heavily intoxicated.
They'd had a gutful before.
Yeah, and then, were booted off. So Robbo, the Roosters head coach, came out during the week and he was like, he's a good man with good principles. He wants to be a lad sometimes, and that's not what we need from him. So
he also said, act like a man in public.
Yes.
And I think from Robbo, that will resonate with Victor. Obviously, everyone loves the way he goes about playing the game. With the rule changes, one might argue possibly a little bit hard done by with this lengthy suspension.
Yeah, well, the suspension and maybe the Roosters do something as well to discipline him too.
Yeah,
but he's not helping his Origin chances for when he comes back.
I don't think he plays Origin this year, for one. For two, I think the big thing for the Chooks is what is the example that this sets to the young kids coming through. Victor is, mind you, only 23.
Yes.
Sometimes you might think that he's a little bit older, the way he goes about the game. This is, I spoke about Gus Gould last week. I really agree with what he's got to say. Let's put James Hooper in the same category as him. He said on 360... I'm not using that language, but I'm close. But on this particular point, he said on the scale of 1 to 10 of atrocities, this is a 1.
Yeah.
That the bloke was pissed and
He's been rowdy.
There was nothing like in all of the dramas and the
he didn't grope a
theatre,
flight attendant. He didn't assault anyone. So it's not like
exactly right.
This is pretty low.
rugby league bar is very, very low. If that's a 1 out of 10, you have to be pretty pissed. You would have had to done some real stupid thing, and it's the whole thing. Like he'll be on a footy show in 15 years' time. He'll be a Fletcher Hindy. Like he's got that mould, and he'll tell the story about when he got kicked off a flight, and we'll laugh and think, oh, that's a great chat.
Yeah.
So,
and that's a lot of that was coming out in the media this week as well. Like this was kind of celebrated back in the day, like being a larrikin. Oh yeah, he got kicked off a flight, blah, blah, blah. But now in the day of, 24-hour news.
We don't know as well. They haven't come out and said they were like abusing the staff, or they're like, hey, I'm Victor Radley, I should be in business class. They could have just been like, oh, you guys are heavily intoxicated. No, we don't want you on this flight, and just turned them away. And the boys are going, oh, okay.
That's probably all that was in it. I'll back him in here. Hopefully, comes back to that scintillating form that we had seen before this incident. Anyways, there is a fucking game of rugby league tomorrow.
Yes.
We don't need to talk about one case of COVID in Bondi. Like
3 now. It's up to 3.
Oh, shut down the country. Shut down the country.
Well, they're worried because it's in Bondi, and I'm assuming the Chooks have been good, but they do like to go down and frequent the beach down there. So they haven't imposed any restrictions on like where they can go at this point. So I think they've said it's highly recommended, don't go to cafes, don't take public transport and the like. But yeah, just something to watch and monitor. No issues of yet for the players. Anyway, fuck COVID.
Yeah, you're putting me to sleep already, Sean. Tomorrow, do the Panthers lose 3 in a row, or with their Origin stars back, they handle the decimated Chooks?
I reckon they put 30 on the Chooks.
Yeah, I think they I won't go that far, but I think they win this quite comfortably. Joey, thoughts?
No, I'm a bit with Sean with this one. I think this is a Panthers flex their muscle. It's 2 losses. It's the Origin boys come back, then they won't play the following week. Is that right?
Yeah, so it's a Sunday game.
So they get one game together. They want to get back with the boy. I reckon this is a boat race. This one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think when the Storm and the Panthers want to flex their muscles, they've shown that they've pumped every other team, and they're happy to put 50 points on someone. So
this is close to a big bet. This is close to it. This is a 13 plus. This is stomping, I reckon. And against a top 4 team, they'll want to. Yeah, I reckon Panthers 25 plus.
Monks, could we get your tip?
I said 30. So
your tip, the odds, and the 13 plus market, please.
Yep. So my tip is the Panthers. Odds are they are favourites at $1.20. Roosters are out at $4.50. The 13 plus is currently at $1.72.
See, short.
Very short.
Very short.
And the line
14, huh?
is 14.5.
Oh, geez. So you'd take that if you're going to do 13 plus.
Yeah.
An extra 20 cents for 2 points.
Yeah.
Quick math.
Free money.
Is that the on the Esky bet of
And
the
the
week?
Roosters will win that by 9 points.
Well, hold on. Who did you tip?
Real tip.
Yeah, all right, the
Penrith.
Cats.
We'll do Penrith.
All right. Newcastle.
Just briefly, I saw this week someone's printed that on a T-shirt. It's the Frogurt guy, and he's saying the Frogurt is cursed kind of thing. Yeah, I've put it in, like I said, Sarah.
The Esky is cursed.
Yeah, but if you need any Christmas present ideas,
What's the chat? The Esky is cursed.
no. The Frogurt is cursed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the
But
whole
the curse.
The idea of the
just,
curse.
just the Frogurt is. I thought it was an extra meme on meme. Memeception, if you will.
Memeception. I like that.
We like you. We know you like memes, so we gave you a meme with a meme.
Joseph Gordon. Let's move on to the next one.
Newcastle vs Warriors. McDonald Jones Stadium up in Newcastle. I think for this one, the Knights of course went down to Souths last week, 24-10. The Warriors on the other hand got belted by the Storm, so both teams coming off decent losses. But for the Knights, they were hopeful they were going to get most of their troops back, Pierce, Ponga and Clemmer. But unfortunately, late breaking news, Ponga is out.
What is going on with him?
Groined. So he's got.
But this has been like, it's 1 week, and then it's been for like 6 weeks.
Well, I think what they've been doing is trying to get him back ready. So they've been increasing his load. So as they increase his training load and his running capability, it of course either starts twinging and tightens up, and they're like, okay, we need to step him back a bit. So as they get his load going throughout the week to get him ready for the game, which what's this one? It's Saturday night. So he probably the captain's run today. They would have tried to give him a full load, and they're gone. It's tight, it's sore, and they're like, well, fuck, we need to shut you down again, and then we retry this. He's just part of that rehab, and that him. The one I can think of. Harry Kuehl had the groin injury for a very, very long time. Same sort of thing.
Jared Berry.
Yeah, well, same thing. Hopefully he's back this week.
Yep. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. So, but groin's one of those.
It's OP, yeah. It's one of those ones you either play hurt or you let it rest. You can't,
And for a bloke that his game is finesse and speed and
agility.
Agility, it's not what you want. Furthermore, he's also been ruled out of Origin 2, so they're not even going to try to. I think they wanted to get a game under his belt before they even thought about that.
Yep.
Considering how it went last week, Gago goes in for the Souths, but that probably opens the window to 3 other blokes to possibly play fullback for Queensland. We'll of course preview the teams next week, but the guys to watch would be AJ Brimson. Valentina Holmes and of course Reece Walsh see how they do this week, and they might find themselves in the fullback jersey for Queensland.
Do you think
Sunday.
Holmes played that poorly that he's in danger of losing his position?
Yes,
Yeah.
he did.
And you're a Queensland fan.
Yeah, game 1 last year was the exact same thing.
Okay.
And he did end up losing that to AJ. So I think he's better in Origin as a winger. Maybe that just matches a bit better against Toto or Adokar, depending on what side he plays on.
Yep.
And I think the tantalising Reece Walsh attacking power is what they may want to put out there. But he's played 6 games would be by the time that rolls around, because this would be his 6th game.
Yep.
It's
very early. 18.
It's too little.
Yeah.
Too little. The Sam Walker argument comes in as well.
How many games did Harry Grant play last year?
Before he played Origin. 9?
But different role. What did he do? Come as impact off the bench compared to the starting fullback as well.
Yeah. So.
I think Ben Eichen as well. Shout out to the host of NRL 360. I think very young as a Maroon debutant. Yeah. Anyways, we'll cross that bridge.
We'll talk more about that next week.
So Pierce and Clemmer look set to return. A big
gets for them.
Big out for Newcastle is Bradman Best. He copped the dreaded syndesmosis. Under the knife this week, 6 to 8 weeks. The Warriors, geez, they were ordinary last week against Storm. What's our thoughts here, boys? 2 teams that are desperate for a win. I'm up there in Newcastle. if Pearce and Clemmer come back, I think they win this. I've gone the Knights.
Yeah, I'd pick the Knights on the back of the same thing. All three of those blokes being in. With Ponga out, I'm just like, oh, fuck. It's just like, does that bring it back?
The arena on it?
Yeah, look, well, it was going to be a close match. And then you lose Ponga and you're just like, oh. Clemmer helps them get a platform, him and Safidi. Pearce can play off that. It's just like, where are they going to find points in that back line is what concerns me.
Okay.
And these teams are both almost identical where they're at the moment in the stage of the season. Let's just say it's at home. I'll stay firm. I'll stay with Newcastle.
It's kind of like a secondary home for Warriors, but on the Central Coast for so
It's
long.
not far to travel.
There is that too.
Short bus ride.
Warriors are 5-8. How the hell have they won 5 games? Every time I checked, they've lost. I don't understand who they've beaten to get 5 games. I thought they would have been 2 and quick
Brisbane
math, 11
and the Bulldogs. There you go.
Yeah, have they played them just every other week? I've got the Knights here and something similar to the earlier game. I reckon this is 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy?
Yep. So I've gone Knights as well. This is a dead heat at the moment. They're both $1.90.
Ooh.
The line's where the market at. So Newcastle is $2 for -1.5, and Warriors are $1.81.
So Warriors slightly ahead.
So yeah,
Flip of a coin.
Yeah. I wouldn't be picking it. I wouldn't.
Probably.
I'd stay away from this game as much
Yeah,
as
probably not a game that's going to scintillate me on a Saturday afternoon. Speaking of,
yes, go for it.
the St George Illawarra Dragons take on the Canberra Raiders at Wynn Stadium 5:30 Saturday night. The Dragons, they gave the Canterbury Bulldogs their second win of the year. The Dogs have had a bit of the wood.
Do you want to talk about that game for a while?
Yeah, in under 30 words or less. So I was watching this, waiting to board a plane / on the plane, coming back to the nation's capital on Monday. 8-6, halftime. I thought, okay, look, 8-6 to Canterbury. Thought we hadn't played the best half, should take care of business. Land in the nation's cold capital and check my phone and I go, what the actual fuck? 28-6, we go down to the Dogs. Been a bit of a bogey team for the Dragons of late.
yeah.
We're talking about a team that put 50 on Brisbane last week. It happened live in front of our eyes. This time, Thursday before last. And then they go out and they can only score a try against the Dogs. Like, I don't know. It's very frustrating. It's very frustrating as a fan.
I'd wondered if maybe they're a bit flat with, Corey Norman got the news during the week he's not going to be there. But he was one of their best.
And Dufty got that news a few weeks ago and played the best game of his life against the Broncos.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not sure what's it doing, why they were so...
It's something about the Dogs and...
Maybe they just turned off like, oh, we'll get these guys easy. They're the Dogs.
I don't know.
And the Dogs just wanted it more. They got a sniff. 8-6, they're like, hey, we can win this. And there you go.
I'd honestly, and I think we were saying it on the podcast last week, we all tipped the Dragons. We all thought this is a game they should win. And it's a classic curse. You can't trust the Dragons at $1.20 ever. And, look, they come into this game as probably the underdogs against the Raiders, who have been pretty hapless themselves. Mind you, much like the Dragons, spanked Brisbane last week. Mm-hmm. Something I wanted to point out.
Yeah.
The Raiders, mate, there was 20,000 at games a few years ago when they were pushing for a grand final berth.
When you're winning, it's not cold.
So that's the thing. So you're proving my point is that the guys that get around this flag right here in this city that we all love, they're fair weather, aren't they? They're used to the winter. They just don't want to go out and watch the Raiders when they're not playing that good, do they?
Well, they're also playing the second worst team in the comp as well. So it's not like...
So it's more likely they should win.
They'd win and they'll win big. But it's just like, oh, well, it's a Thursday night. So it's...
I thought close to 10. I thought close to 10 was actually...
night when they played.
Last weekend?
Saturday.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah, it was Saturday.
Saturday.
Saturday night. Fucking 2 degrees out at Bruce Stadium.
Yes. Yeah, all right.
Singlet weather. I reckon that's a good crowd. Middle of winter in Canberra for a rugby league game.
Mate, if you have a look at the last few years when, like in 18, 19, when they were really making that run, the average was like 17, 18.
Yeah. Look at the decade before that, though. Cool. That's still a pretty good number, I'd say.
So I think any rugby league
when they were really
I'd be
stinking.
happy with 9,000.
Yeah, well, they were average for a very long time, and they're average this year. So,
Mate, all I'm saying is
whatever.
that Viking clap must be that we still got tickets left. That's going out to Aranda. Shout out to Aranda.
Yeah.
You can still come down and watch the game.
So, were there
Horrible
more?
crowd.
Was there more fans at this Raiders game than there was at that Dragons game?
No. I think there was more at the Dragons. I'll pull that up. If you want to talk about the Raiders and where their season is headed, I'm confident that there was that more at Stadium Australia on a public holiday.
Go for it. The Canberra News, they do love playing the Dragons. The Dragons, for a very long time, didn't win in Canberra because they hate the cold.
Famously went there on no, it wasn't I think it might have been the year before. Sitting in front of Terry Campese, I was up and about. The Dragons were up early, and I was letting everyone know, and they lost. Terry Campese sitting behind us, gave me a good little head rub, and it had he took it pretty well, but just a few choice words for me. While I went home with me tail between my legs.
Some good news for the Raiders as well. I think Papa Lily is back this week from his suspension. I don't think they're missing very much. Bailey Simonson played fullback, I think, for them last week as well, and looked all right. At this point, I'm going to say Raiders slightly ahead based on team talent.
Dragons for mine. Better team.
Really?
Playing better. Yep. Little wake-up call last week.
Yeah, I've tipped
You'd
them.
hope so.
I'm not confident whatsoever. I think the Raiders have kind of turned their season around a touch. I'm not saying it from the boys, but
Did I? Yeah, I picked the milk for this one.
I reckon,
I've
you've
gone
been hard on the
Dragons.
boys. I've gone Dragons.
Dragons up there, Wollongong, reasonable record up there.
Thanks.
Yep. This might get you the difference, Sean. I've gone Dragons as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Some odds, please.
Yeah. So Raiders are favourites at $1.71. Dragons are out at $2.15 at the moment. The line is, so it's going to be a pretty close game. 2.5.
Yeah, I would say so. These two teams usually play pretty competitively against each other.
For your information, Sean, the crowd at the Bulldogs Dragons game on public holiday Monday, 17,300.
So that's very good for a rugby.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good comparison because
my math is
one is in Sydney, but the Dogs being the team in last, playing the Dragons middle tier, and then the Raiders playing middle tier, and then playing the second last team. Yeah, it's a good comparison.
just remind me, if 17 more than 9?
Yes. I was just asking.
Anyways, let's move into the Saturday evening game. Melbourne Storm take on the West Tigers up at Sunshine Coast Stadium. The Storm belted the Warriors last week. Dale Finucane, we've spoken about him the last few weeks on the Esky. A lot of chat that he might be leaving Melbourne at the end of the year.
I think Nico Hines signing elsewhere freed them up a little bit in the cap, so they might be able to squeeze him under.
This is nothing official, though.
Nothing
is it?
official, but it's looking likely that he will sign a deal of less money because I think he'll play in his 7th grand final if they make it this year.
If
If
you've already put it down.
When?
yeah, it's probably a win.
Oh, no. Sorry, Sean. Interception at the 20.
We'll see
Watching
if
Cody
Xavier Coates is quick enough.
Walker.
No, it's Gagai.
Dan Gagai,
Well, Coates is
excuse
going
me.
to run him down.
Oh, that's an away
Oh.
tackle.
What a
Oh,
tackle.
He get it down, dude.
And
Xavier Coates.
and stood over him.
Got him early.
There you go, huh?
Xavier
That was that
Coates,
inside
you
pass
are
as
going to
well.
look good in purple.
Gagai's not confident. He got him.
Why didn't he give it to Alex Johnson?
Yeah, he had that pass on the inside.
Yeah, he had plenty of. He takes an
He
intercept
threw
here.
it straight
The fans
through
at
his-
Standing in
home.
the line.
Alex Johnson's
Gagai's
just like,
run 85 metres. Great chase from Coates. He's caught up to him at about the 10, close, grabbed him high.
That is an unbelievable chase there
At
from
the
Xavier
corner
Coates.
post, just rolls him over the touchline, and there's no debate. That's Scott Sattler-esque.
Take.
Or Todd Byrne.
Todd Byrne. 03 grand final?
Boxy in the comments, you'll let us know. Boxy's a big chooks man.
I'd say so. Yes, from
Fred-
memory, it was
03 and West Tigers were around there
05,
as well.
05 was West Tigers. 04 Canterbury won it. Against the Roosters, 0-3.
I'm going to tip the Storm.
Yeah, so back to this. West got belted by Para.
Ken Malalo hat-trick on D-Butt there for the West Tigers.
So he'd have the best strike rate.
In the last week, yeah.
Well, overall, he's scoring 3 tries a game.
Oh,
So
at
his
one
strike
club.
rate-
At one club.
Well, yeah.
Well, let's just say 100 games minimum on that stat before we start talking about it. But yes, I think we're all going Storm. Storm, I think I've got all their guys back as well.
Yep. Yeah.
They're almost full strength.
This
So
has the makings of a bloodbath. I'd love to know.
another 50 plus on this one.
Well, $1.50 for 13 plus. I'd take that.
Is that what the odds are?
No, Monks will give it to us, I'm sure.
Go, Monks. Give us some odds on your tip.
What's happened with Pappenhausen? Well, I bring the odds up.
He's been training. I haven't heard any more whether
not
he's
named,
in
is he?
the
Not named,
squad.
yeah.
But he's been back at training, so which is good after his really bad head knock.
Yeah, but that's getting on, over a month now.
Yeah, and it's probably not helping Macca's Dally M bet on the
No, I think
No.
that's an ultimate curse. Hey, as soon as I announce that, you got injured,
Yeah, it's a
stop
thing.
playing.
We should
It
stop
is.
praising
We
people.
actually need to just start. Yeah, again, I'm going to hit a
that's-
shit round of golf on Saturday.
There we go. We got
over
one
100.
right.
Yeah, there you go. You can actually book that in. It's going to be a long day
Sure
for me.
thing.
I can already tell.
Yeah, the market on that's $1.01.
That's it. We're talking about short odds. So Storm are $1.07 at the moment. Tigers are out at $9. Line? Anyone want to guess?
17 and a half.
No, it'd be
28 and a half.
I was going to say 6 or 4.
24.5.
Close.
What was the 13 plus?
13 plus.
Dollar.
Short.
75.
$1.28.
What? So they're $1.
28 for 13.
28 head. Sorry, I was
Yeah.
no means land. I was busy looking up the best strike rates because Monks took too long.
Oh, did you get it?
Brett Stewart for sort of modern day play. There's some old blokes that average more than a try a game. But for modern day players that we would know, Brett Stewart scored 115 tries in 143 games, so 0.8 tries a
0.8,
game.
yeah.
80%.
Akila Uate was second,
Yeah.
54 from 72. I thought he played a bit
Did he
more.
only
than
play
that.
72 first grade games?
Yeah. Ben
Is that
Barber.
at one club?
Best
Yeah,
strike
Newcastle.
rate current players. Hang on. How old is this article?
Well, I got one from 2012, so not as
No, this is recent. Like
recent as yours. Yeah.
This looks fairly recent, but it says Ben Barber 43 from 58.
Well, it's got Brett Morris there.
2012. We're looking at the
112
same.
games.
This is 9 years ago.
this
This
is the
is
same
9
one.
years ago. Alex
But,
Johnson wasn't born yet.
You had
I was going to say
Nathan
140
Merritt's on there.
games for Brett Stewart. I was like, I think
Yeah, I was
he's
gonna
played
say
more
that.
games than
Yeah,
that.
you had me at Uate.
Uate
He
72.
played
Ben Barber's 58
212
games.
games.
Hey, we've just been talking about Brett Morris, and I stopped for the last 2 weeks.
What did he have? 60 tries there.
112 games. He's played
77 tries.
150 games since his article.
Hey, look, you know what that is? It's a lesson in we are very authentic here on the Esky.
I just panicked. I went quick. I didn't want,
it's all right.
That's why I'm going to leave the stats to Monks. I'm going to talk shit. Matt Monks is going to do the stats.
That's why I hadn't said anything because I still can't find it.
Hello, best strike rate ever.
I got Les Brennan.
Les Brennan, who's iPad, he's like 1.5 a game.
32 from 24 games.
It's not bad. I'd say 100. It's got to be minimal games.
Well, that's number 2 on that list. Harold Horder, if you don't mind, 152
I remember him
tries
well.
from 136 games.
It's not bad.
Mrs. hated him, hoarding all the fucking all his old memorabilia. Anyways, moving into the first Sunday game, Parramatta take on Canterbury out there at Bank West Stadium. The Eels smashed the Tigers 40-12, as aforementioned. The Dogs, geez, they got a good win against the Dragons. Did you guys catch the Josh Jackson sim binning? It was inside the 10-1. Apparently one of those ones where you'd been warned. Anyways,
I didn't see that. I saw the one where the Bulldogs front rower, I've forgotten his name, stayed down from the Dragons, give him a little tap on the face and he stayed down, and the Dragons boys were getting stuck in there.
milking.
Yes, for the milking.
I'll tell you what, we don't need any more of that in this game. So anyways, the Dogs go a man down and they score. And they really set the tone of the day. Tell you what, Jake Avarillo, he had an absolute career day. 2 tries, 2 line breaks, 6 goals, 4 tackle busts, 122 metres gained. And Dallin Watine-Zalesniak, he's announced that he'll be leaving the club end of the year, I'd imagine. Surely this is for Parramatta tips here.
Yeah, I've Parramatta by a lot.
Big time.
It's another game that could get out of hand very quickly.
Para and odds and tip and what's 13 plus?
Yeah, so I've gone Para as well. Obviously, they are heavy favourites at $1.08 at the moment. Canterbury are out at $8. Line is 20.5. Eels 13 plus is $1.40.
I think that's look. It should be a safe $1.40, but fucking who knows?
I think they'll get that easy. Finishes off with the
Sunday afternoon, Gold Coast, Manly, up there at Seabus Super Stadium. Daly Cherry Evans, 250th game. Kevin Proctor will be out for the Titans. He got suspended for his high shot. DCE coming off an absolute blinder last week against Cowboys.
Are Manly going to be twin turboed for this?
Yeah, they should be. Yep, the twin turbos should be there.
Might even be triple if the young one.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it could be. Is Ben Trebojevic named there? He is 15.
He is.
Yeah,
Interchange, yeah.
Triple turbo.
Yeah.
Us. Fucking triple us. Yeah, Manly win this, I think, pretty comfortably. Thoughts?
Well, I interrupted you on DCE. He had a blinder last game, 3 try assists, 13 tackle busts, 145 run meters. Plays his 250th for this one, so a big number for him. But I agree with you, Manly by a lot.
He's a hard done by player, Daly Cherry Evans. I think you either love him or you hate him.
I think he got a really, really bad rap after turning his back on the Gold Coast, signing that massive deal to go up there to essentially be their halfback of the future, and then said, I'm staying at Manly.
Yeah.
I think it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But it was essentially the first of the big contract renegs. He's kind of the one that led the way.
I've done it since. Exactly.
Yeah.
Kind of ran through the wall for him. Shout out MXC for those fans that running where they had to run through the door. And
MXC, wow.
I don't know why that popped in my head.
Debut on the Esky.
So I reckon he's just criminally underrated. He just plays well. And again,
He's the highest paid player in the NRL.
when you like if you have a bad Origin game, obviously it's highlighted. So then you're dubbed a shit player if you play bad in Origin. So you're almost penalised for playing more games in the spotlight.
Yeah.
Overall he's been
when
great for Origin. He won a Clive Churchill.
He's been the best halfback over the last 10 years, and I say that because Thurston and Cronk have retired in that time, and they don't have. There's
definitely a gap there.
The back end,
maybe a year or two. If he plays another 5 years down, I think you're probably. They've only
Cronk's been out 2 and Thurston's been out 3 years.
Yeah.
So in the last decade, I'd still pick one of those two. Cooper playing 70% of that decade.
Yeah,
I'd pick him.
Mate,
I think he's the next one down. I think there's a bit of daylight between those two. Overall, they're two immortal. There's an argument they're immortal.
I'd say DCE gets a bad rap for when he came in for Cronk as well. I think I said last week on the podcast when he came in and lost that series for Queensland.
Hiding to nowhere there.
Because they win the series either side of that, and they could have had the full 10-year run is what they were all after. So he copped a lot of the flack and a lot of the blame.
You're putting that on his shoulders, aren't you?
Well, all the stuff coming out of camp that he came in, Cameron Smith
popping out of his head.
Cameron Smith really didn't see eye to eye.
No, we're going to need therapy sessions here.
Very much so. So, hey, put it this way. DCE didn't come back in the squad until Cameron Smith retired from Origin. So, I'll throw that out there.
Anyways, this game between Gold Coast and Manly on the
Manly got bum.
Manly by all the points.
Yeah. So, I've picked Manly as well. I reckon this is probably something that you could probably get around. Sports bets don't reckon it's going to be as much of a pumping. They are favourites, $1.45. Tines are out at $2.75. The line is only 6.5.
Oh, that's pretty sure.
And if we're going to go 13 plus, Manly is $2.50.
I'll be some value in that.
A lot of this is coming off the Tommy Turbo factor.
But
they're so good.
But the evidence that we've had this year in the 13 games.
So, they went from being the worst team in the comp to being
world beaters, putting 50 points. They are Jacqueline Hyde personified with Tommy Turbo, whether he's in or not. They completely morph. And it's he's got the argument, Dally M, whatever, of being the best player in the competition at the moment. Because every time he plays...
State of Origin.
Exactly right.
Man of the match performance.
Not
That's right. He looked like an alien, that New South Wales recruited an alien. He was that much better than everyone. Obviously in 50 point drubbings, you're going to look like that.
That's right.
But
yeah.
look at the
Get a
club
lot of
form.
freedom too.
Yeah.
You know, that injury, whether it be running in the street, in the shower, whatever he claims it to be, like that could have ruined one of the all-time seasons.
Yeah, it
really,
could've.
the way he is playing. So he's in, they win. That's as far as I'm concerned. Against a middle of the table team like Gold Coast.
I agree with Macca on that point.
That will wrap us up, our NRL
I
chat.
assume you picked Manly. I don't know
Yeah,
if it was-
yep, I did. For this week, let's move into the AFL. What is going on with David Mackay then?
David Mackay. Now, I don't know if you boys have seen this, Monks. We might get you to pop it up. I think it's sort of been the hot topic of the week, and it's sort of
What was
you
this?
just
Was this
lingered on.
St Kilda versus
Adelaide.
Yeah,
The Crom. The Crom. And we'll get into that.
One of the great comebacks of all time.
Like, honestly, it was 36-0 at one stage.
It was, yeah.
52-11 or something.
Yes.
And then the Crowies went back in the sheds. The Crom came out and they mowed them down. St Kilda, if you didn't think they were frauds beforehand, you
They're
will
frauds
now.
now.
But in the middle of this, and it's
this one.
it's popped up as a bit of a hot topic because it is a ball in dispute, and it's two players absolutely flying at the ball.
Come in,
Peps, if
both
you're
come in
going,
really hard.
with one objective, and it is to get the ball. And David Mackay, veteran for the Crowies, he's just got there. And when I say split second,
Yeah, it's
it
like
is
that.
literally he's just the second player to the ball at that moment, and he's just. The argument is he has turned his body, but he's sprinted for the footy. He's put his head over the ball, and the thing that's come out of this, his shoulders collected. Hunter Clark's
Square on the chin.
he's had his jaw broken in two places. The poor
Yeah.
bastard. He's actually in a world of hurt. Hunter Clark's for a big stint on the sideline, and
So my problem with rewatching this again is both feet leave the ground.
but.
Mine.
So do Clark. If you actually look at Clark, so do I. And that's always
yeah,
what they
that's
look
true.
at. They always look, if you're leaving the ground, you're out. But Clark does the exact same thing. So if this is the other way around,
I'd say Clark is a lot closer, like he's in running form, whereas he comes up. Like his trajectories, if the ball's down and he's coming up, then I'd say he's not coming down on the ball. If you get what I'm getting at?
It is so vicious, and it has
But it
completely
is-
split the footy world. It's, and I hate the old school. Like I flicked on AFL 360 for the first time in a couple of weeks because I just hate Mark Robinson. And Mark McClure was on, so I said, this has a time limit. How long I watch this for? And he literally said, look at some of the hits back in my day that got wiped. I started playing shots from the 80s that were, and I turned it up. I went, well, no shit, they don't rub people out for that. It's 40 years ago. The game has completely changed. You're watching a different sport now.
Yep.
Pull your head out of that crap. A lot of stuff's gone under the water since then. This one, and I thought the Lockie Plowman one was a little bit unlucky a couple of weeks ago. When the ball's in dispute and they're both going for the ball, and in that, and I can understand that we need to coach out the bump. And if you look at Jordan De Goey's hit that he got a week for in the Big Freeze game, he's literally run off his line, gone to bump. He's hit, I think it was Dane Rampy, square on the chin. And Rampy luckily got up. It wasn't Rampy. It definitely wasn't Rampy. But he got hopped up.
Wrong time.
Oh, exactly. It was the wrong team. It was Clayton Oliver is who it was. It was at the SCG. That's why I pictured the SCG.
gotcha.
Gee whiz. Sean, you are rubbing off on me. He's gone off his line, hit Clayton Oliver square in the chin. Oliver's bounced up.
You know what the difference here is?
He's split his jaw into 5 different spots.
Oh, yes, that is considered. It's the position of the ball, because the way that Danger hit that poor Crom bloke back in the early on the year,
Second game, I think.
and he copped 3 weeks. It's pretty similar, the contact. The difference is the position of the ball.
I'd say Dangerfield's intent was different. You can see him cocked arm looking straight at the bloke. He was going to lay him out.
Yeah, Peps has a point there. Keep going. You go.
I think if you looked at both of those contacts, I think they're very, very similar.
I disagree. I'd say they're very, very different.
Would you?
The intent is so. I talked about like Danger's one. You can see him with elbow in, and he's got the full like triangle where he's leapt off the bottom leg to drive into the dude. I remember we talked about this, how he's going to do this, do it properly, and decleat the bloke, hit him
But
around the stomach.
but for me, the thing is where the ball is in dispute in that contest.
Yeah,
In the Danger one.
Danger's not playing the ball.
Just got rid of it. Yeah.
That's the only difference.
Yeah,
for mine.
For mine, Danger doesn't play the ball at all. So I think that one was worse than say this is.
That's what I'm saying. Is
Okay.
the position of the ball. The contact itself is very similar.
Similar, yeah.
Is very, very similar.
Yes.
The fact in this one that the ball is in dispute, and the fact that in the danger one that the ball is gone, I think that's the sole difference. You can bring it up here, Monks.
Yeah,
I'll jump on that, Peps, as well. When the ball is...
so he gives the hands...
He is that second late, but you're exactly right, Pep.
The contact is no different. The fact that the ball is in dispute, it's bouncing around there. You're allowed to go fucking hard at it, and I think that's what saved him here.
Yeah. Well, breaking news in the last hour, he has been
not guilty.
Not guilty, which was people were saying this has to be 2 or 3 weeks to not. That's a pretty big scale to miss 3 weeks to not be guilty. So and now they've got that on film. And Peps, you're absolutely right. With a 360 game, it's not like rugby league. The ball is there. You're coming from one or two directions. Yeah. AFL, you're literally coming. Your body's going to twist or turn certain ways. And that being in dispute, what do you do when the ball's on the ground? You both go low. You go hard.
Yeah.
So they are both bent over. And I think you're exactly right with this one.
Yeah, the intent's different. That's what I was trying to get. Yeah. Like Dangerfield's trying to lay this bloke out, whereas the other bloke was gone for the ball and is like it's a.
I wouldn't say he's going for the ball. You look at that, his eyes aren't on the ball.
Well, I think
the difference. His eyes aren't on the ball.
Well, I think what's happening
at impact they're not because he's there.
He looks up at the impact, but you can see he's coming.
But
you can see he's coming in.
The ball is in dispute. That for me is the difference.
So this is what I mean. So he's gone. He's seen the ball in dispute. So I'm sprinting 100% at that ball, and in the last 30 centimeters, it's no longer in dispute.
Yep.
Yeah,
so in that
he sees the bounce,
100th of a second, you have to go from ball in dispute to now because the whole thing is protecting the ball carrier. That wasn't a ball carrier for 98% of his journey.
No.
So in that last 2%, he's supposed to either handbrake or stop and wrap him up. You physically can't do that. You just there's no human. And I'm glad. I actually think this is the right. It's awful for Hunter Clark to be out.
Terrible. No one wishes that upon anyone.
But again, you are playing, and I sound like a dickhead when I say it's a contact sport. You're going to get hurt when you're both sprinting at a ball, like you say, Peps, in dispute. Bang. Yeah.
If anything, like him slowing down to pull out of it brings him up.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This is him like trying to get out.
He's like, I need to get out of it.
But like pulling out so that it's not a head-to-head contact sort of thing.
Exactly.
If he's protecting himself,
if they both come in low, maybe they have, like Monk says, a head clash at the point of the ball versus he's tried to pull out and then of course gone higher as he's trying to pull his handbrake and just gone straight through the other bloke's face. But
and to highlight, stupid journalism that we've got an issue. The part of the reason that we sit around and drink beers and talk on this podcast. Footy on 9. Why did Mackay turn his shoulder?
Yeah.
That happens like that.
That's instinctive.
That is
you protect
instinctive.
yourself.
And it's not like he's going through step by step. Like that's a stupid fucking headline to have.
Yeah, exactly. You don't run into a tackle with your face out.
Oh,
it's like I'm going to take this in my face. Yeah, you turn your body to protect yourself.
But the big thing they've done now is put that on. And what have we done since this? We've talked about De Goey's hit. We've talked about Dangerfield's hit. All you can do is base it on what they've given suspensions to.
Where's that consistency?
So now they haven't, but now they can't because any team who gets reported for that will use this film.
Mm-hmm.
So any ball in dispute, and that's why I think Lockie Plowman is very stiff for that hit a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is very hard if you are listening at home. We do encourage. We might even put it up on some of our socials.
Go check out some of them.
It's been the big talking point for the week. So if you haven't seen it yet, get out from under your rock.
I'm actually surprised that maybe they didn't just throw him a week.
But then you open the can of worms. I think it has to be one or the other.
Yeah, it's either a lot or nothing.
Yeah. It is that 3 weeks because if it is that week, you're saying, well, why is it only a week? Because the impact's obviously severe. The guy's head's nearly been blasted.
He's not going to play for the next 2 months, probably.
So the impact's there. So let alone that should be 2 weeks. Yeah, exactly. It gets too cloudy if you do one or the other. So I'm glad they've done it, and I think perhaps you're right there. The ball being in dispute for a majority of that.
That's the difference for mine.
That split second at the end when he actually does get his hands on the footy and Dave Mackay is sprinting at the ball, which is because then they're fucked. If they, sorry, Dad, but if you give that was the first one. We're an hour in. Sorry, Dad.
Have you not F'd before?
Yeah, I'm trying hard, but you cannot teach that out of the game. No. You cannot teach that out of the game.
You will have
if the ball is in dispute, don't run as hard as you possibly can.
Is that what you want to teach out of the game?
The sport's in more trouble. And again,
you will have the car crashes at some point. Like they
100%.
they just happen throughout footy.
this is
If you've both got eyes for the football,
and that's what
get
they
blinders
did.
on,
And I'd be interested to hear what Hunter Clark says. I mean, whatever. It is what it is. The only and I want to be real quick with this. We'll move on because we've got footy classified up there. Caro Wilson, have you got that absolute? I have words for her, but I won't put it on the internet. Did you see what she said?
Not in verbatim.
So Seb Ross and Tim Membray, they've bounced around. They've done bubbles for the last 2 years. I think, and I might get this the wrong way around. I think Tim Membray's wife is pregnant, is very close to having a baby.
Yep.
Seb Ross has got 4 or 5 week old twins,
and they had to leave the team.
leave the team for
family
a week
reasons.
or two. So they were given. They said they asked for a request to stay with their families, with their respective families, stay at home. They're older players. They're in their late 20s.
Yep.
Can they stay with their pregnant/newborn babies, pregnant wives, newborn babies, instead of playing a game against Adelaide in Darwin? Where was that game?
Yes.
Well, Alice Springs, maybe.
No, Cairns, wasn't it?
Cairns, it was too, Kazali Stadium. Sorry for our Cairns fans out there in the swamp.
Shout out to Gilligan's.
And she's come out and said, how dare they? Think of the sponsors. What do the sponsors require you to go home and look after your family? Honestly, and to put that out
A
there.
bit louder into the microphone.
Can you do it for me? Because Dad's listening. You won't let me say that. So someone else, because... And it's almost like she did it deliberately because she knew she was going to be in the headlines.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's clickbait
it's
101.
It's classic Caro journalism. It's just
That's
absolute guttable.
That's just like On The Esky calls female journalists fucking bitch. It's like,
True, actually, yeah. Actually,
So he said it.
tag her in it. Let's see what happens. But
That's
I
the
mean, it's just so stiff. But and Seb Ross put out a lovely message apologising to fans that if they were offended. I don't think there'd be a single St Kilda supporter that would say.
family comes first.
And I'll tell you what, at half time of that game, they wouldn't have been. They would have said, "Oh, good, we don't need Seb Ross and Tim Membry. We're just a pack of cowards who lose." Although they didn't come against the Crom, Pepsi's Crom, the wave. You need all hands on deck against Crom. So I popped that up because we were talking about footy classified.
Yeah, no, it's definitely worth bringing up.
100%. Let's.
Has anyone seen Hot Caroline Wilson?
What?
British diplomat. Check that out. That's Hot Caroline Wilson. Yeah, first thing to come up on Wikipedia there.
what have we divulged to? Oh my god.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the big freeze. I think so. Let's move on and talk about the big freeze review. That game was Monday.
Monday, yep.
Monday,
Yep.
Queen's birthday. Had a bit of extra sauce to it with obviously Bucks
All the
announcing that
Buckley,
it's going to be his last game. He'd be pretty filthy. It's a fun. And I saw Daniel Gorringe on Instagram do a funny bit like, now you pull your finger out.
Yeah.
Now you start playing well against a team that's lost one game all year. You
Yes.
start to
The
beat
best team in the
them
comp.
in front of everyone. It's the only game of footy on. But I mean, look, Pies. It was a really good game to half time. Then sort of Pies just were in control in that second half. Melbourne sort of went away from everything that they've built this season.
Close-ish at three-quarter time.
Yeah. Still, and it was one of those ones Melbourne have just sort of blown. I think they're the best fourth quarter team in the comp. So you thought, poor Pies, but just really had nothing. Max Gawn got out-rucked by something named, was it Max Lynch? I think it's Max Lynch. I have never heard of him before. He looks like a big unit of a man. Looks like he could slug cans all day. That's my kind of ruckman. And he out-dueled.
That's the only kind of
That's true, actually. And Maxi Gawn will attest to that.
You probably love Pepsi.
And Maxi Gawn was taken sort of completely out of the game. Oliver got his. Petrarca wasn't as effective. Scott Pendlebury won the Neil Danaher Trophy, which I love that it's called the Neil Danaher Trophy. And the whole day is now built around that big freeze and raising money for MND. And I think they raised over $4 million with the government helping out as well. So really awesome. And God, if you are listening and you are up to this point, we are morons who don't, we can't speak half the time, but if you can listen to some Neil Danaher speeches and listen to him talk, and if you're not inspired and ready to run through a wall, then you can't be helped, because the stuff he has done when he's like, it's very inspirational. The quotes and just seeing him fight on and do all this amazing stuff.
Yep.
Get off your couch and help out however you can, in whatever format that is. So, and then footy's just sort of the backdrop for that,
That's
which
right.
was, and then
It's not the biggest thing in life.
no, absolutely not. But there was a pretty good game of footy at the end of it. The Bucks era has ended at Collingwood. The
27 years.
27 years at Collingwood, which is just incredible. No flags.
That's a lot
At
of
the
service.
biggest club in the world, or in Australia, my world. No flags for Bucks. Obviously played. No, he didn't.
Didn't he get that one against St Kilda?
They got one, didn't they?
No, he wasn't playing. He was an assistant coach then. So
this is between.
that was right in between him finishing. So, and I thought it's really cool. Scott Pendlebury played in Bucks' last game, and he's played in his last game as coach, which I thought was pretty cool. And they're obviously very close. Yeah. But yeah, just
I'll tell you what's bullshit. When the media was trying to ham up a few weeks ago that Bucks had lost the players, and then
you see them at the end of that game. Yeah.
Did anyone look? Did anyone look?
Show
like
me one player
that the coach had been lost.
I actually watched it deliberately, and they obviously had the cameras on deliberately, and just the handshakes at the end of the game.
Mate, there was tears.
Half of these kids grew up watching him, and like I promise you that has an effect at a footy club. Seeing a guy who did it, and you having his footy jersey on, or you having his poster on the wall, the effect that he would have, let alone the fact that he is a good leader. Like he's a good coach. He flipped that list and took them to the grand final 3 years ago. So I think he's a victim of being burnt out. I think any big Melbourne job has a clock on it.
I'd say the burnout and then all the other shit happening in the front office. He's just
we speak about it all the time. If this was happening at the Gold Coast Suns, he's there next week.
Fine.
No dramas.
Absolutely.
The Collingwood amplifier.
Oh yeah.
Plus he's got his new sexy missus. So
who is good? Shout out Bucks. She's. Hey, we're all taking men here. We are all taking men here. So we're objective viewers, but Buckley's a good looking dude. We'll leave it at that. Looking at Melbourne on the side of that, though, they've obviously the best team. They're the bookies' favourites for the competition. So I'm dealing with a burp here.
It's all right, work it out.
They've beaten every sort of challenge that's come their ways. They've knocked off Richmond. That was their first big test. They technically beat the Bulldogs in front of no fans, so I don't know if we can count that. But, they had more numbers next to their name. Yeah. Exactly. It was a good hit out against the Dogs. Their two losses, however, they come against Collingwood on the weekend and the Crom.
Crom.
The Crom's a special
Crom.
Two losses against bottom six teams. So if you're a Melbourne fan,
is that concerning, or would you rather put away these good teams and cop, lack of concentration, if you will, loss?
And it could be two things, because I think that game of the Crom, I think that was one of Tex Walker's best games of the season. So
he kicked 6 perhaps.
Exactly. Yeah. So they just got red hot. And
1 point loss as well.
And then against the Pies, they run into a Pies team that put in. It's their grand final essentially for this one. So they've put all their effort.
Yeah, exactly right. But you throw in the Bucks emotion. So, but are these now all of a sudden we've got excuses for losing?
I'd say for those
you can't go undefeated in an AFL season. You can't go undefeated and you just can't. It just won't happen. It's too long. It's too grueling. Teams need to win every week. But I don't know. It's probably something that needs to be highlighted. Yeah. I think Simon Goodwin would low-key love it because it is whiteboard material. There'll be a million mistakes they made that he can highlight. Because when you win a lot of games, it's hard to sort of pull your troops in the line and say, come on, guys, how do you get motivated? I mean, you look at sort of Hardwick and Richmond. They have so many lulls during the season, and then they ramp up.
It's one of the hardest things to do in team sports is go through an entire season undefeated.
Yeah.
Because you
or even to finish on top of the ladder itself is and be the team that everyone chases. So
you need a couple losses because generally you're going to have a loss at some point in the season. You prefer it during regular than in the finals, but you also learn so much from losing. You need those losses to help you. Well, what are the little things we're missing?
Yeah, where are our weak spots? For sure. So I think Simon Goodwin would love it. If I'm a Melbourne fan, I'm not being. I'd never like Collingwood beating me, especially when all eyes are on that game. So, but it's a mindset thing, or I don't know. It is what it is. So we'll see that going. I still think they're the premiership favourites. It's hard to argue that point.
I agree with that.
But yeah, let's.
Before we jump into the round coming up, I think we just wanted to cover real quickly the Eagles getting home in their game.
Great game of footy.
It gets the Tigers
belters on the weekend.
Yeah, watching that Sunday night. Unbelievable finish. The real winner, the Marry Me Dusty girl. You guys see this?
Yes,
I did see this in the notes.
Not a bad looking. Sheila.
Objectively.
Objectively. Purely, I don't know what's worse there, objectively or subjectively. What I saw in the comments made me have a giggle. one of the top ones was, he probably won't, but I will. And then a few superimposed Simpsons kind of things. Yeah.
God, it's a bevy of content. The Simpsons, you can relate it with everything.
Anyway, I just wanted to bring
there was a game of footy that was involved with that Pepsi.
Do you think that kick was 15 at the end from Flan Ran?
They did measure it and it was 14 and a half. So that's allowed. That's
much
fine.
closer than that Geelong Sydney one.
Yeah. Oh,
It
big time.
looked like
Cross
10,
goal.
but
Yeah.
okay.
But
That's
that it looked bad, didn't it? Angle,
it looked
left
like
foot.
the angle that TV had made it look like it was 10. So
Excellent kick. Put it straight in front on his non-preferred.
Kennedy, only one person marked.
Did he catch it?
Yeah, that's a mark.
Yeah.
That's a mark every day of the week. Yeah.
Ate it.
It's much, yeah.
Didn't roll it across the ground?
The question I'll pose to Pepsi as the Carlton fan, and we've sort of floated it last couple of times.
We had a bye last week. What are you going to
No. Well, I'll flog you for your past
bye.
discrepancies. Josh Kennedy kicking that goal, all of his, amazing career achievements.
Mm-hmm.
I think West Coast definitely won the trade. The Chris Judd trade.
They won. That is huge.
I think West Coast.
I think a
won
lot
that
of people
trade.
have been saying that as well.
If you look at it
That's
right
the chat
now, if you look at it
recently.
right now where we are at right now, and it is recency bias, I will defend that. Chris Judd is a childhood hero of mine. He's one of the best players I've ever watched on a television. Mm-hmm. He sort of had two different careers. At Carlton, he was a bit of a different player to he was at West Coast. Chris Judd is all time.
Yes.
That's
Different list, of course, different team.
I'm going to play devil's advocate for a Blues fan here and agree with you. How many?
agree. I'm saying West Coast won.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. Mm-hmm. I'm being the Carlton.
Oh, okay.
The Carlton fan, devil's advocate. How many flags does West Coast have out of that?
One.
And how many do the Blues have?
Fat zero, like a real fat zero.
And as good as Judd was,
How many finals did Judd take him to? For Carlton.
Not a lot.
for Carlton,
Yeah, for Carlton.
making the 8.
There was that one
one?
against Brisbane. There
One?
was that one against Brisbane when sort of it was Bradshaw for Vola era.
Yep.
And then they made the finals when Essendon pulled out. I think he was still there for
Where they had
that.
finished 9th and then.
Yeah.
But other than that, they sort of
So
were just...
2, yeah. That's...
So you return on investment is what I'm getting at.
yeah, but also you have to consider the team.
It is a team sport.
The team around them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
They also got Matt Cruiser that year with the number 1 draft
Mm-hmm.
pick. So if he plays a full career without injuries, that changes it. But
Yep.
all those Cruiser injuries really,
it hurt. Yeah,
really hurt. But you have to factor that in. Right now where we stand, West Coast win that trade.
Yeah.
Like he's
Yep, I'm going to agree.
the best modern day forward.
Yep, I'm going to agree.
Take
with
out Buddy out of the equation. He's an alien.
Fun fact. Josh Kennedy and Patrick Cripps, same town, Northampton, Western Australia. Yep. Population about 1,000.
Jeez, they breed well at
Don't
Northampton.
they? Yeah,
That is a very good stat. Thank you, Peps.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That's much better than you marry me, Dusty.
I'm just saying, there's a lady out there. If your name's Dusty, you got a few
Oh,
shit
a female in
tattoos.
Australia wants to marry Dustin Martin. Gee whiz, that one
Join
girl
the
that does
queue,
that.
join the
Far
queue.
out with the other 3 million of them. Let's talk some footy.
Let's talk some
Let's
footy.
get
Let's
into it. Let's
get
get
into
stuck into it.
a massive game. Geelong Cats taking on the Western Bulldogs.
Huge start to the week.
Massive. It's good to have the dogs back on the program. We had a week off last
and let's
week.
try and be objective.
We will be objective. Now, I will be as objective as I can. The Dogs win this by 5 or 6 goals. They will absolutely...
So this is a bloke that was scared of Fremantle a few weeks ago.
And rightfully so. That was a scrap of a game. Dogs win this. This now, I'm opinionated. The game's at Geelong, regional Victoria, outside of Melbourne. There's no fans allowed for whatever reason. There hasn't been a COVID case in regional Victoria for
Is that where they're
donkeys. Well, they're now allowing 7,000 fans. So
Okay. So
now they did
Less than a Raiders
say,
game.
can we move the game to Sydney so we can play in front of some fans? Geelong said no. We want the home ground advantage. We'd rather play in front of no fans at Geelong than lots of fans.
Sleep in
somewhere
your
else.
own bed.
So
Right.
Geelong are now on my hit list, and I can't wait for the Dogs to really flex their muscles. Geelong. The Dogs to flex their muscles. Apologies there. Dogs win this comfortably. Geelong did look really good.
Yes.
How's the Dogs' back line looking?
Well, they're going to be tested. They're going to be
In terms
tested.
of key tall backs.
It is literally the one thing they don't have
Which is why I bring it up.
is key back. Zane Cordy, premiership winner.
Yes.
Alex Keith, great recruit. Bit undersized. Eastonwood was supposed to play. He's named in the emergencies, so they might be doing the old 23rd man. Actually, is playing. Someone else is a 20. The old Luke Beveridge trick.
So try and put your feelings aside. Do you think those three are a match for Cameron, Hawkins, Rowan?
Hawkins will kick his
After
goals.
the week they had last week.
He always will. And to go with Sean's point, they kicked 12 goals between the three of them. Rowan's he plays tall, but he's more of a small. Don't worry, we've got small defenders coming out our ass. Don't worry about that. Hawkins will kick his 4 or 5. I've no issue there. Jeremy Cameron isn't that kind of player who's going to wrestle you out one-on-one.
No.
If the ball goes in quick and
very good out in front.
Yeah, if they're but if it's out in front of him, there's nothing the defender can do anyway. So I don't.
Okay.
I actually the size of the defender doesn't really worry me. I think the game will be won in the midfield. If the ball's coming through clean in the midfield, there's no tall defender that can defend those three. Yeah. If it's coming in quick one-on-ones, that's how a forward loves it. 666 rule, etc. From centre bounces, it will be won in the midfield. And the Dogs are, they're really banged up with injuries. Danger is back for the Catters. Guthrie's back, which is just brilliant timing from you, Cameron. But I don't know. And they never play well against Geelong, like never historically. The year they won the flag, they beat every team in the comp except Geelong.
Yep.
I shouldn't be, but I think they win this. I think they win it pretty comfortably. They get back on track and everyone goes, oh, we've forgotten about the Bulldogs for the last couple of weeks. They're still very, very good. They do the one of the 8 things that are going in my brain. They have to go from Geelong straight
Only
to
8,
Sydney.
That's good.
Yes. Yeah, it's good. That's why I'm confident.
Will they go through Sydney?
They have to go, well, again, with these Bondi COVID things, I don't know if it's going to happen. The plan is to be in Sydney for a little mini hub because they have to go to Perth to play West Coast the week after. So it's
there's probably no direct flights out of Geelong to Perth either.
Yeah, but they can't go back to Melbourne. They won't let them go from Melbourne to Perth. That's the whole thing.
On a bus to Adelaide, and
so it's that plays into it. It's a big couple of weeks for the Dogs. Yeah.
So
it's a very big. If they can go 1-on-1 the next 2 weeks, I'll be happy. I will tip the Dogs.
I have also tipped the
points.
Dogs.
Wow.
I wouldn't say by that many, but I picked the Dogs to continue the curse.
I've gone Geelong.
All right, you're safe, mate.
Yeah.
Needed that. Really needed that boost. Now it's 7 things.
Went Port last week. Pretty good over there in Adelaide. Yeah, worried about those big 3 key forwards. Look, not overly confident, but I've gone the Cats here.
It should be a good game of footy.
I've gone Cats as well.
Desmond.
It'll
be a good game of footy.
Give us some odds, Mark.
So Geelong are favourites $1.62. Bulldogs are out at $2.31. Not the blowout that you're reckoning, Macca. The line is 7.5.
To Geelong's favour too.
Yep.
Game of the round. I'll tell you what.
It'll be a great. It's starting to pop up. The top 6 is there anytime they play each other. We saw Richmond and West Coast play great games. There's good games of footy this time of year.
Not the next 2 games.
There are still very bad games.
The rest. There's only 5 games this week in the AFL.
With the buys, yes.
That's a great game. The next, I think we can probably cruise.
Start
through.
the clock. I reckon we can get this through. The next game is Gold Coast are hosting Port Adelaide, coming off that loss to Geelong at home. Gold Coast went down in Perth to Fremantle. Great news that Matt Rowell got through unscathed. He didn't have. I'm not going to say much.
Quite by his
he had
standards.
no impact. Had no impact on the game. I think they really cared. As Alex Johnson goes over to make it 28-0. Gee whiz! I only looked away for 3 minutes. And that's
It's kick to come. It's going to be 30.
Maybe I should have said 32 points.
Brisbane suck.
Yeah, Matt Rowell getting through a game of footy unscathed. That's
Excellent.
a win for Gold Coast where they are at the moment. They just. Nothing. I don't know what the AFL is going to do there. That's for another potty. We'll have to do a separate one.
I was
just
having
on the
a
side.
look
Darwin.
this week actually about the way that they've gone in there. I think it's 10 years now.
It is. They celebrate. They celebrate 10 years.
I think their best is 12th.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of 14th, 17th, 18th. And then you compare that to GWS, who
played a granny in a year less.
Grand final, have been competitive in a lot of that, and essentially got given the same handouts as Gold Coast got.
Less now because they get comp picks this year from the big issue for Gold Coast is if you they've put one up because celebrating 10 years, their best 22 from the last 10 years. It is a shit hot team. We're talking Tom Lynch, Stephen May, Gary Ablett. Though not prime Garrett. You still want a Brownlow there.
Yeah.
Like a lot
young
of
Charlie Dixon make that?
Yep. Charlie Dixon
Yep.
got like really, really good players right now. That's the issue. They've found the talent. They couldn't miss on talent. They had all the draft picks in the world.
Them there.
It's keeping them up on the Gold Coast. So that's what the AFL has to look into. It's just not a sustainable environment at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is interesting considering I think Brisbane kind of opposite of that at the moment. They've been able to keep and retain all the guys they've been picking of late.
I really think,
but a longer term club.
And you're actually our resident Queenslander, Sean. I really think we paint Brisbane and Gold Coast in all codes with the same brush. I think you have to look at it very, very differently.
Yeah, it's like Gold Coast is Vegas and Brisbane's more like Cali. So it's
like a sustained city.
It's more of a sustained city than a party destination.
Yeah, like it just seems artificial and people going. It is, everyone says it's fast growing, people moving there.
Yeah, but that's all fucking retirees.
Yeah,
so. You're the only bloke under 30, buddy, walking down the street.
Exactly right. So and then you got to build a culture of footy. Like it just seems all fake. The Titans still seem fake to me. The Suns.
No, we've spoken about it before on the Esky.
Well, nothing
no
survived.
team has ever gone there in any code and thrived.
And
Survived, really. Like that. These teams are just going.
Times.
That's really what they're doing. And this was, again, I think we'll have to do a Gold Coast potty on the Esky. Looking at Port Adelaide, obviously pretty disappointing loss. As you said, Pat, it was a great game of footy.
Yeah. We're with them until the last 10.
Just sort of ran away again. Yeah. And that's where the good sides will separate. If they'll step on the throat type thing.
Have you been saying they're pretenders as well?
Yeah. They're my big pretenders.
Flat track bullies.
Well, we'll look at, perhaps you've got the stats there.
Get the stapler out, put the tag on it.
Fraud. They're the Parramatta of the AFL for mine.
Flat track bullies. So teams below them on the ladder, they are 8-0. Team of note in that is Richmond.
Yep. And by half a kick. Very good game of footy we're watching here on the Esky. But that's a side point.
And then against Geelong, Western Bulldogs, Brisbane Lions, and the West Coast Eagles, who are actually below them, but
top 5-6-ish.
That's their losses. Yeah. So
Port, that's everyone in front of them. So.
Yeah, they've got the reverse problem of the Melbourne Demons. They need to show that they can beat the good sides.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And Gold Coast, not a good side, so Port Adelaide win this very handsomely. I doubt anyone.
I think they keep that run going. I think they stay 9-0 against teams below them. Yeah. I've gone Port here.
It is, and it's similar to the Parramatta thing. We will go on because no one's listening to this game. Like beating Gold Coast tells us nothing. Going up to Metricon and winning this game.
They have to win this game
by 30 points.
We talk about barometers, and this is not a barometer.
Means nothing.
This is a game that they should win and
handsomely
by 34.5 points.
Mark's quick odds for us.
I've gone Port as well. They are favourites, $1.43. Gold Coast Suns are out at $2.84.
That's far too close.
Port might be taking it a bit easy. The line is 14.5.
Jump
all
on
day.
It. Yeah. Jump on it.
Yeah,
Jump on it.
Tend to agree with you there.
Jump on it. All over it. Shout out to Connor Rosie, actually. 4 goals in the first quarter. He was...
Happened in front of our eyes.
It was absolutely...
It happened so quick that I didn't really notice it.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Absolute gun from that super draft. The King boys, Bailey Smith, Sam Walsh,
if you don't mind.
Rosie.
Yep.
In that, speaking of Port, in that draft, in the top 20, I think they got Rosie, Dersma, and Butters, who have all been staple.
You honestly say they're 3 top 10 players at the moment, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
For them, absolutely.
Yep.
So that's fantastic.
They're in their window.
And then the Gold Coast, we talk about them, and I hate to shit on blokes, but they got Lukosius and Rankin, I think.
Injuries have hurt Rankin, but Lukosius has just been... He's been okay. He's been a solid halfback flanker.
Getting there. But if you had to take that Port 3...
They did get Ben King as well, who's been criminally underrated as well.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens there.
Early days.
From one scrap of a game to another absolute scrap of a game. North Melbourne hosts Brisbane down in Tassie at Blundstone Ariza. Shout out Trevor. Blundstone.
Azaria. We're so close there.
Hey, wait a minute.
Of course, referencing the voice of Mo and plenty.
And several others. Apu Nahas Padilla.
Cancelled it. I think he's cancelled.
Yes.
Well,
no more Apu on Simpsons.
Alex Johnson goes over again. Dear, oh dear.
Thank you.
North Melbourne coming off the first draw of the season. We will absolutely ignore that. It was
against GWS.
And shout out shout out to Tin Man and Catherine. They were it was Annie and Andy. They were having their housewarming. And we had the game on.
You forgot which housewarming you were at.
Well, they're down the road from each other, so it was the wrong cousin. And I was there with Tin Man, who's a big North supporter, and we were watching this game in the last quarter, and they were up by 5. They were up by 5 goals, and we both looked at each other. Jerry kicked the first goal really quickly, and we went, Giants win this. Giants will just claw this back. And another,
they
should have won. Shout out, what was his name? We have it down there. He's a heck of a player. Who missed that shot at goal?
Well, he's essentially he's got all 4 posts.
It was Dan Lloyd. He was on the boundary, and we probably could get on the Giants.
But he had all 4 and all 4.
Just
it's all open. He just needed to score something.
Hard kick, but hit anything. I think he rushed himself.
Just needed a point.
And
snapped as well.
Nearly missed his foot. So it was a draw.
Rich from me, but
I don't know. Normally a draw, there's a winner and a loser. You always say that there's a team that lost it, and the team that lost 2 points, and the team that gained 2 points. North were definitely a team that lost 2 points there, which would have been really good for them to sort of get a win there against the Giants. So they do host Brisbane, who are they're going along very nicely.
Coming off a bye and red hot.
They'll be you get a whole week to prepare for North Melbourne, and I think you only need about 15 minutes to prepare for North Melbourne. So Brisbane will slap them up very easily.
I think so. Points by a lot. Are North Melbourne missing Ben Brown at the moment?
Well, I'd say so. Like with Nick Larkey up front, he's really their only good tall. Zurhaar's been good, but I think he's about 188 centimetres. I don't know if you'd consider him a key target. Yeah, I think they are. Benny Brown can't get a game over there at the Melbourne Demons. Look, does it change the way that North season's going? Probably not. No. The one thing
he's not purely winning games for North.
Oh God, no. The one thing for me in terms of evaluating this game is the Kangas. They've not been bad in Tasmania.
Maybe they should play all the games in Tasmania.
Maybe. Shout out to the Hobart Kangaroos. So they had the draw on the weekend. They've beaten Hawthorn there, and they actually weren't too bad against the Melbourne Demons a few rounds ago. Sean, as our resident Brisbane Lions fan, are you confident that they go down there and get the job done?
Very, and by lots.
Yeah. I'm going to go...
Easy 50.
50?
I think it could be like 120 to 50 kind of score.
I think the Lions win this. I'd be very interested to see the line. Monks, if you wouldn't mind. Joseph, I imagine you're tipping the Brisbane Lions here?
Oh, yeah.
By how much?
By 36 and a half.
Okay, glad.
36 plus 1.
Oh, Siri.
Thank you, Siri.
Oh, I forgot to put my lotto numbers in.
I've backed the Lions in as well. They are favourites $1.15. North are out at $5.50. The line is 34 and a half.
Ooh, very close.
It's getting rough in my old age.
Speaking of one drawee to, is that a word? Drawee to,
it is now.
To the other team that drew with North last week. The GWS Giants take on the Carlton Blues. 7:25 Saturday night up there at Giants Stadium in Sydney. We spoke about Dan Lloyd, poor fella, just needed that handy point to get the win there. Tell you what, Josh Kelly, 39 disposals, 2 goals. He is playing lights out.
And he's timed it well. He's got a big decision at the end of the year. He signed sort of like a long-term deal with an option.
Yep.
And options, again, God, we talk about...
In his favour?
Player options. So we talk about free agency in its infancy in Australian sport. Oh, I botched a lot of words there. Free agency is in its infancy in Australian sport.
I thought it sounded pretty good.
You sounded better than Peps did a minute ago, so that's all good.
You
can't talk.
I'm getting my shots in again.
Any fighters from Brazil?
Yeah, we'll get to the UFC. We'll really start the wheels spinning here on the Esky.
The Polish blokes, they're the ones I struggle with.
Oh, yeah, just Polish.
Yeah.
Any Anglo-Saxons with a reasonable name?
Yeah, John Smith, please.
Keep it at the wheelhouse. Oh, injury here in the league.
We'll get to that in a minute.
But player options. So free agency is in its infancy. Players, having options in their contracts, like that's going to blow people's minds. And people don't even realise that's what he's got at the end of the year. So he can stay at GWS for another couple of years on big money, or he can actually go and leave and
opt out and go elsewhere.
And he's playing his best footy. He's back playing the position he is. He's not an inside midfielder. He's an outside runner. He uses the ball so well. He hits the scoreboard like he did on the weekend. That's gonna be one to watch. Like, is he prepared to? Like, what are GWS in the next 5 years? Are they going back to the top? Do they need a few years to rebound? Do they do a Sydney where it's a quick turnaround?
If he goes, where do you think he'd go?
Well, it's teams with the money. North have been chasing him. His dad played for North Melbourne. Bombers have a bit of cash, although, they did pay Zach Merritt.
We'll get to that.
It would be a Melbourne team. He's a Melbourne boy, so Carlton were linked, but we're about to jump into where their money's going in the next couple years. North seems to be the one. They have a lot of money, so is he prepared to, if GWS are going through a rebuild, well, I'll go to North and go through a rebuild and get paid $600,000 more. So or is the culture that he's been a part of at GWS worth more, because he's going to command a lot of money if he's going to leave. That's the other thing. So, it'll be a classic Geelong just sort of pop up with a bit of money and throw it at him. So that would make me sick to my stomach. Hawthorn might be one. So,
anyways, we're talking about next year.
We are talking about next year. Let's talk about their opponent.
This game,
the Blue Baggers.
Who were they signing next year?
Well, they did. The big news for them, they had a bye. No, they didn't play, but they did get Harry Mackay for a couple of years. Peps, I'll let you take the reins on this one.
Only 2 years extension on his current deal, 2023. That's what he signed on till. Undisclosed amount. I imagine it's a fair bit. I also imagine it's a fair bit less than what some other clubs would have been able to dangle in front of him.
For sure.
Look, in terms of this game, season on the line, both clubs. We spoke about it a few weeks ago where I said I wasn't too worried about Carlton when they were 4-6, and then they became 4-7. I thought, it has to be this week, and then they became 4-8, and I thought the season's gone.
Oh, season's in the tank. The season's in the piss, but it's now what do you want from the season for mine? And I'm sorry to interrupt you there. It's do you want to just sort of go out with a whimper, and that'll sort of say where David Teague is at, or are you going to have a real crack, get as close to 10, 11 wins as you can, and prove that next year is going to be the year? Which is shit to hear for a fan, no doubt.
But I hope it's the latter. I hope it's the latter. I hope, as a fan, that they show a bit of ticker and they come a reasonable 10th and win a few of these games. And as we've spoken about before, they only play 2 of the top 8 sides in their run home. They need to start putting away some of these games, against lesser opposition or on par opposition,
which is what this game is.
Correct. Look, I've tipped them. Again, this might be a Dragons Raiders kind of situation where I've got my glasses on, but I've tipped them. Not much confidence.
I picked the Giants. I'm going the opposite.
I think you and I have every tip the same this week, Peps. I'm on Carlton. I'm a hapless Carlton believer. I don't know why. But I just still...
Same as myself.
I'm waiting. I don't know. I'm not invested in you. I don't watch the games, but... Monks, what do you reckon?
This reeks
another Desmond?
This reeks of a Desmond.
I've gone Carlton as well.
Oh. Reeks of a semi-curse.
Is there such a thing as a semi-curse?
Yeah. I'll get that on the shirt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, just wait.
When you get a semi.
Give me the semi.
Semi-Road Raja.
Odds.
Yeah, GWS are favourites, $1.63. Carlton's out at $2.28 at the moment.
Well, that's 4 points.
Can't win. Can't win.
9.5.
Can't win.
8.5.
Oh, I was going to say 6. Good, Pep.
Yeah.
Can't win.
Can't win.
Oh, that's it.
Be happy with that.
Bold calls.
Oh.
Currently in the rugby league, the South Sydney Rabbitohs are 40-0 up against Brisbane Broncos.
They can't miss a point at the moment.
No.
That was the worst.
They've literally scored, and it probably speaks to why I look at the screen. But every time I look at the screen, they're either kicking for a goal or scoring a try. That's been happening for the last 15 minutes. Maybe it's because they score a look up.
Dire times to be a
We'll talk about the stats in this game after we finish the AFL. Let's finish that off.
Well, yeah, there isn't much of a game to finish. It is Hawthorn versus Essendon. Again, they do host. This would have been a great game at the MCG on a Sunday arvo. COVID's a loser. So it's down in Tassie. But, good Tassie fans, the Hawthorn have a big contingency of fans down there, so get on down there. Hawthorn upset Sydney on Friday night footy, which I don't think anyone really saw coming. I think they were up to $5 or $6 head to head before the game. So
have they gotten a little bit healthy and got some new guys coming in the squad?
It's not so much healthy. Like
we'll talk about Jai in a minute. But
we'll get into Jai Newcomb, who they brought in the mid-season draft. But their list still does nothing for me. Like they've got Tom Mitchell and Diego Amira who just get the ball, but I don't feel they impact the game. They've got a lot of just role players without superstars, which probably will get you a few wins throughout the year. Yeah. We have talked about Sydney being this young list, although their veteran players are helping them along. They're still a young list.
Yeah.
They're going
to have lapses.
Melbourne shouldn't have letdowns. Sydney are going to have letdowns. When you're majority young teams, this just was a massive letdown. A home game at SCG Friday night.
I think we all picked them.
Show off your talents. Yeah, absolutely. They were honestly, they would have been $1.15 head to head or something. So, biggest upset of the season so far, I'd say. Tom Mitchell, he did play very well, and the big rumours coming out are that Richmond, the drums are banging much louder. So what that means for Shea Bolton at Richmond as well. So
there's been the chat during the week that he might be moving on. So maybe that's
I don't know if it's one in, and Richmond are now in that Geelong phase where the draft doesn't help us because we're picking 20 every week, every year that is. So let's start bringing in some of that talent around. So if you can, and Trent Cotchin, does he retire? There's money there. So those drums are banging quite loudly. Hawthorn would gladly take some draft picks at the moment because they just need them. They need to rebuild. This win is great for the young list they have now, but they need more young talent. Is Tom Mitchell going to be in their next premiership team?
Well, speaking of young talent, we should probably talk about Jai.
Let's talk about Jai Newcomb, who came in he was playing in the VFL with the Box Hill Hawks. They picked him up. They had a spot on their list because of Jonathan Patton for his early retirement through... We won't get into that. But Jono Patton, he freed up a list spot. They brought in Jai Newcomb, played his first game, later lazy 14 tackles, which I think was 3 more than anyone ever had on their debut. So he's a big-bodied lad, and he was good chat on the post-game interview. Just, one of those young blokes get a chance to play league footy, and he was loving it, and just what do you do when you're playing footy? You chase the ball and you grab the bloke with the ball. It's just literally what he did. So... they go up against Essendon, who did have the week off as well, so they'll be fresh. Their big news again. It seems like when you have the week off, you can go sign your stars.
Yeah, right.
Your front office gets done.
Zach Merritt re-signs. He had a 5-year deal, I think it was. So he re-signs to the end of 2027, which is massive news for the Bombers. He's been in amazing form. Everyone's been talking about Darcy Parish, but Zach Merritt's been their best player for the last couple of years. They're really building something there at Essendon.
Yes,
it feels like. I don't know, them and Carlton, they're just doing it 2 different ways. Carlton are bringing in recruits every year, whereas Essendon said, we're going to draft the shit out of this and
sorry, keep going.
And see, no, you go. And top up with our very, very elite talent. So Zach Merritt re-signing is a massive, massive deal. Port Adelaide were big on him. I know Carlton had a little sniff around, but they've got now Mackay's signed. They've got to worry about Cripps and the like as well. So, what do we think here, boys? Anyone brave in tipping Hawthorn?
No, I've gone the Bombers here.
Yeah, same Bombers for me. I like what they've been doing lately.
From what you saw last weekend, fucking Hawthorn might be a shout.
Max, you sticking strong?
Have you gone Essendon?
I went Bombers, sorry. Yeah.
Damn it. I've gone with Heart and Head, and I've gone the Bombers as well.
Hang on. This could be curse game.
Huge curse game.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous in the league.
We'll come down in a minute.
So wrap this up. So Essendon are favourites, $1.56. Hawthorn are out at $2.45. The line is 11.5.
It's a bit close.
So yeah. Couple of goals in it, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
In that, I'll probably wrap up AFL chat for this week. There is
buys for the week.
8 teams on the bye. I don't need to read them all out. But
we said the 5 games, yeah. Then next week we'll get back into the full slate, and then you always say the post bye is the lead into the final.
That's business then.
COVID's wrecking this because of teams still doing hubs. Is when we can get teams training throughout the week in their normal clubs. That's my mark when we can start leading into finals. There's going to be a lot of gross things in the next 2 weeks, but it's better than last year when we had no footy or we had it on the Goldie.
Before we get started on the cricket, Marks, can you get some stats on this rugby league game. So Souths are just gone up 44-0 with 10 to go against Brisbane with a kick to come. Latrell's already on the bench, so they're already resting Latrell after with another. I think he came off with about 15 to go. Has Johnston got a hattie? I know he's got 2. Who are our try scorers so far? I think there's at least a couple of blokes with a double. What do we got? Latrell's got 1. Guy's got 1.
Johnson's got
Graham's got 2. Johnson's got 2. Yeah, and some of them are real soft as well. Like 2 guys tackling a bloke and he just keeps muscling them through and puts a ball down over the line. They've been terrible. 18-0 at half time. Now
really put the points on second half.
Yeah, now going to be Wayne probably told them at half time, these blokes have shithouse. Go out there and put them to the sword. And Adam Reynolds had an absolute meal of a conversion in the last one, hit it off the post and still went over, so they could score points at will.
He's such a good goal kicker.
And he's just kicked that one. Yeah. So I don't think he's missed a goal. Missed one. So it's 46-0 now. 60% possession to 40. What was the run meters there?
2.
Missed 2.
I think Latrell missed one.
What was it?
Sorry, yeah.
So all run meters, they're over 2,000 and Brisbane haven't even hit 1,000 yet.
That looks ridiculous on the screen.
That
looks crazy on the screen right now. 2,100 to 959.
So they've doubled the runs, 10 line breaks to 1. Killing kick meters.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Every stat there almost double the other ones. So
it is a real issue in the league at the moment. Like we talked about Storm's run they went on the 13 plus.
Well, we just talked about what was it? Storm were going to put 50 on our blokes. Para were going to do 40. There was another game I think we said was going to be.
I think Manly with the turbos.
Yeah, could get out of hand. I don't know, there might have even been another one. Like there's
the turbos.
Yeah, the twin turbos.
The triple turbos.
Triple turbos.
But then we talk about the AFL and we go, oh, Melbourne's getting knocked off by Adelaide and Collingwood. Like you don't know every week.
Yeah, well, we think North should probably lose to Lions, but there's at least some quality games happening throughout this round of 5 games.
But like, what's the equivalent to a 46-0 drubbing? Is that a 130 point victory?
Loss.
Like,
yeah, it's 100 point loss. Yeah,
and it is very like we are crossing codes. But like
just
South Sydney are inside their 20 now from it's from the kickoff here. This is the first set.
Well, let's for example, if we double this, it'd be like a 90-point to 0 scoreline in the AFL. Like that's fucked.
It is.
You can't compare it like that.
Just a quick comparison.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's a genuine issue in the league because and Brisbane are on Friday night every week purely because for money and eyes, but you're not showcasing the best of the game here.
Well, and that's a big talk.
Like you've got Penrith, you got Penrith versus Sydney. Wouldn't that be a great Friday night game? I know it's probably Saturday night, but
Fox has paid good money for that, and they're playing Brisbane on Thursday because they can't play them on Friday anymore.
Sorry, we're on Thursday night here.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But again, they always have a prime time game. Like
they've moved Brisbane to predominantly playing Thursday games because they're shit house.
But if you're gonna have this floating fixture, like even the NFL, they don't have Dallas on every week. They know it would get more viewers, but you would actually.
Well, the teams
you're better off having a good brand of football on the telly. As far as I'm concerned,
we've talked about it. There's 2 teams in Tier 1. There's probably then another 2 teams in Tier 2.
Who's that?
So I've got Melbourne, Penrith was 1, and then I've got Souths and Para as 2, and then everything else.
I'd put the Roosters in there. Top 5 probably. If they're fully healthy, they're in that first tier.
Exactly.
Yeah. Healthy Manly would be at least in that Tier 2.
Yeah, so I
like that.
Manly probably getting up to their record doesn't show that currently, but they're getting to that point.
Slow start.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's a great idea.
I don't think you can put them in there without. I think we're stretching to get 6 teams, is what.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
The point.
Exactly.
Like,
There's 4
here's
teams.
one for you. Does any team out of that 6 win the comp? No chance.
No.
Is it outside of that team? Absolutely not.
Well, I'd say outside of Penrith and Storm, I'd say Manly probably, if fully healthy, will beat Souths and Para, and they're the only dark horse that probably maybe could knock those 2 off, just through the current form. But it's Souths and Penrith by leaps and bounds.
So that speaks volumes of the state that the league is at.
Well, but you know,
at the start of the year we talked about 4, so we've narrowed it down to 2 by this point. So.
That's what I mean. Like we had this conversation at the start of the year, and it was the exact same teams.
We had the Roosters.
It was the exact same.
I think we had Raiders in that 4, but the Raiders are
so
they're falling off.
So all that's happened is a team has dropped off. So I don't know. I think without a draft, you're never going to get proper parity. teams just have to naturally fall off a cliff. I don't know.
And we just talked about the Roosters having all the cash in the world with all the retirements that they can go buy good players.
So.
Which actually really interesting. I saw this stat from the Storm. Xavier Coates is probably their one big name signing that they've made in like 10 years, I think it was.
Michael Crocker.
Well, that's all right. You saw that too.
Right.
Yeah, Roosters from the Roosters. So you can see
They just developed
Mick
their own.
Crocker,
their development is really, really key to how they've sustained their. It probably helps having one of the greatest players of all time playing hooker for 2 decades almost.
But that's how you get the best out of young players. You're surrounded by good young players. Then those old players get older, and the young players become the old players, and they bring up it's a circle.
Yeah.
And again, without a draft, that's just how you're going to keep it.
And coaching
successful.
probably helps a little bit.
And again,
they've got
that's why
Yeah.
Bellamy's assistants get hired. You sit next to the bloke every single day. Surely something rubs off on you. So Stephen Kearney didn't work. Adam O'Brien.
I don't think any of them worked yet.
So I don't know. So and Belichick's the same in the NFL. Like it's wild that you'd think surely this the systems can't be replicated. These individuals that are at the top.
Correct. Yeah. And often it's gone the other way for the Storm. They've developed these really good players. Israel Folau, Greg Inglis, Cooper Cronk later in his career, and lost them to other clubs.
Yeah.
Well, you've probably named the 2 guys that have left Melbourne and actually done really, really well. A lot of the guys that leave Melbourne kind of don't recapture their form that they had at Melbourne.
Fizzle.
Yeah.
Kevin Proctor, Adam Blair,
McLean, keep going.
Tolman.
So yeah, it was, Israel and English really were the only 2. Israel didn't do it huge.
Generational talents as well. Let's be real.
And Israel didn't, do his whole career in NRL. He played, I think, 2 seasons for Brisbane, and then went to play rugby league. To play rugby, but he was the highest scoring player in rugby when he was booted out. So
He was probably the best player in Australian Rugby Union when he was playing fullback for the Tars.
Well, I think he was going to score the most tries. He was on pace to set the history, to break the record essentially for most tries by Wallaby, I think it was. That was part of his court case. That was one of the stats that lost sponsorship because he couldn't hit that number. Anyway, enough about Israel. We don't need to talk about Israel at the moment.
2 hours in.
Or Ben Barber and his stuff like that. Let's finish that. Let's move. We don't want to talk about Ben Barber. Let's keep going.
He's actually a gun Aussie rules footy player. Did you know that?
But he's still a dickhead. So let's keep going.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't know how we got there because we want to talk about the Black Caps.
Yes, let's talk some cricket.
Shout out to our little brothers to the east. Gee whiz, nearly some quick geography.
Makes sense.
Some quick geography.
Yeah.
Although we probably need to stop calling them the little brothers the way they are playing at the moment.
They're ranked number 1
Yes,
and we're
we're
ranked
4.
number 4.
But we're bigger, older, and stronger. So, boo.
That's what I keep saying to my little brother.
Yeah. Obviously, last time we spoke to you guys, it was we were talking during the first test of. Oh no, they just started the second test. New Zealand in England.
2 All-State.
It was day 2. England sort of were cruising. Rory Burns had a really gritty 80. Dan Lawrence, they both scored 81, but they both went at it completely different ways. Really gritty sort of perfect openers knock from Rory Burns, whereas Lawrence just came out playing those delicious strokes. But to sort of go back, we were talking about the changes that New Zealand had for this game. Obviously, with the World Test Championship in mind, it was a pretty quick turnaround between that second test and the World Test Championship, which is tomorrow. The big ones being Tim Southey comes off 7 wickets in a match in that drawn, and Cain Williamson, top 5 batsmen in the world going around. Your captain, they get rested. England ended up getting bowled out for 303. As I said, Burns and Lawrence with 81 apiece.
Not a bad score, but it's
not great. No one really went on for England other than those 2. Absolutely no one with the bat. Like I said, they went out different ways. They kind of looked like was the pitch. It's a bowler's paradise. Mark Wood came out. It wasn't a tail-ender's slap around. He made 41 with some good cricket shots, and he let some go. He actually looked quite good out there, and he's a very good cricket player. He bowls very quick, and actually
he bowls wheels.
He can hold a bat. Don't worry about him. Bolton, Matt Henry, can you ask for 2? We talk about conditions in New Zealand. There's a reason they're part of the Commonwealth. They do just as well in England. Bolt Bolt got 4 wickets, but I thought Matt Henry was a much better bowler. He just was landing them in spots, and him and Southey are very similar in that they're a little bit fuller, so they're going to get hit for some cover drives for 4, but you can't help but play the ball. Even you look at some balls and you say, how the hell, why isn't the batsman just leaving that? It's, it's a bat outside of off, but it's that awkward swinging, leaning in, swinging away, seeing positions. They're just absolute maestros with the ball. In return, New Zealand made 388. Again, everyone loves being in the 80s in this test match. Devon Conway, again, made up with, he had 200 in the first test.
Yep.
He hit a lovely looking 8. He's just a good-looking bat. I love his technique. He's got like a Mike Hussey left-hander. Yeah. You love to watch him bat.
They found something in Conway, it looks like.
Oh, absolutely. Will Young, again, who came in from Williamson, chipped in with 80 of his own. And Ross Taylor found a bit of form at the right time. He made 80. He's definitely on the back end of his career, but he still showed that he's
an old man.
He's got a lot there.
Yeah, he's still got a...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's old, but he's not the number 4, and he's one of the better number 4s going around. Stuart Broad was sort of the only consistent bowler, and he was... And we said it off air, him and Jimmy Anderson are probably the 2 oldest bowlers in the world right now, and they are 2 of the best bowlers right now. For the luck they've had with their bodies, they're just... Like Stuart Broad was in prime Stuart Broad mode. I was watching a fair bit of this, and he was quick. He was moving it left and right.
The ball was going all over. All over the place.
Classic England deck. So New Zealand did very well to get close to 400 there. And then I've got both teams made over 300. England just got there. And England's second dig, they made a measly 130, I think it was. Just absolutely
collapsed,
insipid, and we'd hit Australia just as hard. Like no heart in their batting, and you looked at Joe Root first. You're in the heart of the order. You are the captain. Yeah, obviously you've got some moving parts. Woodtop scored again with 29, and I think there was 4 batsmen in double digits, and it may have been 3.
So had Crawley, Root had 11, Pope 23. Ollie Stone was 15 and was 29.
So it was 4, but there's nothing there. And we talked about Dan Lawrence in India. He looked really good in different conditions, and he's come back home and scored some runs. But just real crap back. Neil Wagner found some form with the ball there, but again, all of the New Zealand bowlers bowled really well. They bowled as a team. They backed up. That was the difference, I think. Stuart Broad bowled really well, but didn't sort of have that consistent backup from his partners, whereas Wagner was sort of the strike bowler there, and Bolt and Henry and Patel backed him up. Absolutely. And then, New Zealand, I think they had 41 to chase. Tom Latham, who stepped in as captain, which sort of shows you where New Zealand are looking. Kane Williamson isn't an old man, but Latham has captained them in ODIs, T20s, so he's definitely that, 2 IC, and he's very much up and down with his form, but if they're willing to give him captaincy, there's no issue there. So it leaves New Zealand with a great spot with Conway. Their top 6 is a lock, which is something we haven't seen in Australia for a very, very, very long time.
Well, I think that's a good point. You'd rather have lots of really good options to pick from than none. So.
Yeah, 100%. And this is what this showcased. I just think it was 2 very different game styles from New Zealand. Like obviously in the first drawn test match, Conway opens the batting, hits 200. You're always going to be in a good spot. Your opening bowler takes 6 wickets in an innings. In Southey, the game misses a day with rain. They have the early declaration. They take a couple of early wickets. The England bat out the draw. They had to be sort of aggressive there. Whereas this game, they bat second. They had to fight off Broad, who was in form. No one really went on with scores. Guys had to be gritty. Taylor took a bit to get into his innings. The bowlers all chipped in. Completely different to the other game where they leaned on 2 players, really. So not only do they have lots of players, and we talk, 17 blokes played in the 2 test series. That's insane just to say that. 17 guys got exposure to international test cricket, but they had to play a different style in 2 games. So can you think of a better lead up to a World Test Championship coming?
Well, I was going to ask you, is the Kiwi on the table? Do you think they can beat India?
Oh, not only, and we will. We will wrap up this series before we jump into it. And I am the resident Kiwi. I want to try and get. My uncles are all, and my granddad was a big sheep farmer. So
we got the chili bun back
on the chili bin.
On the chili bun.
I did want to just wrap up, and I was sort of hanging on it like England were crap. Yes. England were really crap. They had fans back at the cricket for the first time in a long time, and they sucked. That top order, Zach Crawley, he'll be a trivia note. Sibley, no good. Rory Burns, real scrappy opener, but
Burns is
give me Rory Burns on a a quick speedy deck with Pat Cummins and Stark Bolno. That's what I want to see.
Quick,
he was crap when he played here. Give me Rory Burns with a short deck.
My question for you, Jim, is their top 6 a cause for concern?
England's
outside of Joe Root,
massive.
Who can bat?
Massive. And Dan Lawrence has shown a bit. We said in India, he didn't make any big scores, by the way. He was hitting good 40s and scrappy 60s, which was a pass for them in India, past that first test. They missed Ben Stokes.
Yeah, I was going to say, how desperate.
Obviously, as all-round cricketers, he's one of the best 3 probably in the world.
Well, he's the second best player, you'd say, for England. Behind Joe.
I'd say he's the best player. I'd say the way Root sort of is a bit streaky these days. I don't see him as a strong leader either. By playing Ben Stokes at 5 or 6, however you want to do him, you have a solid quick. They didn't pick a spinner in the squad the whole time, and Ajit Patel, although he's not a great left arm orthodox for New Zealand, took some wickets and he landed in the right spot. To not have a spin option, to have Joe Root as your spin option, and took a wicket in this game, He's taken some wickets in his time. He should not be bowling. Joe Root should not be bowling. You should always have a spinner handy based on conditions. Pitch crumbles in 5 days. You need a spinner there. Yeah. So by playing Ben Stokes, you don't even have to think about it. You can play a spinner because Stokes can bowl. Apologies. And, you're throwing that he's an elite bat as well. He averages 45, I think, with the stick. So he should be back before the India series when India play in England. But if I'm an England fan looking at that, I know... Take this World Test Championship aside.
I'd be worried.
I'd be panicked. And then from there, they go from hosting India to coming down against their biggest rivals against us. And again, completely different conditions.
Yes.
Yep.
They haven't shown they can play down here, since Cook and Strauss, bent us over.
Well, since we're talking about it, let's have a quick conversation about that series, India coming over to play in England. Noting, of course, England have very much gone with the pace attack. And would you say India's strong suit is their pace attack or more their spinning options? And would they bring a bevy of spinners across to England for those conditions? How do you think that series is going to go?
I don't think they'll, like we talked about, Axar Patel, he's not even going to look in this. Well, he wasn't even named in the squad.
Yeah.
And again,
I think they'll bring Ashwin and maybe Patel's his backup. But
maybe. But it's, and we'll get into sort of selection queries with India going into tomorrow's test match. It's, do you play Ashwin and Jadeja or one or the other? Let alone,
maybe Jadeja's
this guy who's taken the most wickets in his first 3 games ever.
True.
Obviously, the conditions will play for it, and we have talked about India's depth. They can pick horses for courses right now with bowling as well as with their batting. So they're going to come here and
Aksha misses out.
Absolutely. No. He's not even in the squad, I don't think. Yeah.
He's in the squad. He's in the squad.
Well, sorry. Well, you can't.
For mine, he misses out. Yeah, definitely.
No, he won't play Friday. I don't think he'll play against England.
No.
The low-key thing that's sort of no longer low-key is India's fast bowling. Like, they have a selection dilemma at fast bowling, and not because, we need to find a third seamer. It's, how do we fit all these seamers in here? So they've got Bumrah, one of the best quicks in the world.
Pick and stick.
Mohammad Shami in India is going to have an absolute field day.
Yep.
Ishant Sharma's back and healthy. Siraj showed here in Australia that, if it can swing or seam, he's going to get the best out of it. And then
both things great in England.
Umesh Yadav, again, bowls absolute gas. That's 5 quicks.
So they're going to pick 3, you'd think?
I think, and we'll jump in. Well, I'll finish off by saying England are in big trouble. If they got New Zealand, host New Zealand, India, go to Australia, they're looking at 3 series losses in a row.
Yeah.
And New Zealand clearly went into this game not thinking, look, a win. If we can get a win, that'd be great. But whatever, we've got a bigger fish.
Second-tiered squad in this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Going in it, we'll jump straight into this game. So to that point, I think they're in a great position. I saw Agarwal recently. He's not going to get picked. So it looks like Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill, who showed a bit here in Australia, they'll open.
Yep.
They've got a guy named Pujara who can bat all day.
Kohli, I think.
Kohli may sneak into the 4.
He's not too bad.
Ajinkya Rahane, who again is one of the most underrated batsmen and leaders in world cricket. 6 and 7's interesting. They do have is it Varane? Have I got that right?
Yeah, Varane.
He's in this team, but I think they'll go Pant at 6, and then you've got 7, 8. I think they do play Ashwin and Jadeja.
Jadeja about 7.
Yeah, and then Ashwin 8. Because between them, you've got the spin and enough batting there to because 8 down, you're not expecting runs. So if 8 and 7 can combine for some runs, you're happy there because their quicks can't bat for shit. So I think Bumrah and Sharma pick themselves. Their biggest question is...
Well, sorry, just to interrupt you there. Would they pick a more of a specialist batsman over Jadeja? Or do you think you're happy with him producing?
Well, I don't think Varane. I don't think Varane is that much better. You know, he's sort of a batting all rounder. I'd rather take Jadeja's extra bowling because he's hit test tons than Varane. You know what Varane can sort of.
Do you think maybe Washington Sundar might get a shout there as a guy that has better with bat than Jadeja? Take a little bit more bat than bowl.
It is because it is England, and you've got a point. If not for his, because he bowls spin, so no for mine. If he was at seamer like New Zealand, and we'll get into their team. If you have a seamer that can bat 7, and that's why England is normally so successful in England because they've got Ben Stokes.
Yeah,
that flips your whole lineup. You can do whatever you want if you've got a guy who can bowl seam up and bat really well. Whereas Sundar, he may be good with the bat. Jadeja's just as good. I'd take Jadeja's bowling, fielding.
Yeah, I'd say you're bowling
veteran and everything. Washington. So I think it's Jadeja, Ashwin. I don't know who you think the third quick is. I think Siraj would be very hard done by to miss out on this. He bowled very well, but does Ishant Sharma? He's got a fairly good record in England from what I remember. And even Umesh Yadav, he's sort of the. I think Siraj gets the nod as a third quick. And we'll have a look at the Kiwis where, like I said, their top 6 is a lock. They've found Devon Conway, who's just and in absolute great form. He's only hit 300 runs in the last 2 weeks in England. He'll open with Latham, who he said is a lock. Kane Williamson, Ross Taylor, Henry Nichols.
Yep.
They're absolutely lock, and they're all in great form. BJ Watling, who he's the best keeper in world cricket at the moment. Yeah, pants in the eye, but criminally underrated. Never makes mistakes with the gloves. Scrappy as with the bat, but actually has a bit of flair. What they do, it's a great headache to have when you have bowling. Our bowlers pick themselves. We're sweet.
That's all we got.
It's literally all we've got. So Tim Southey and Trent Bolt, obviously they'll play. And what they've done for the last 10 years doesn't get talked about enough. Neither of them bowl 150 clicks. They both move it left and right.
He pushes it.
150
with a tailwind, maybe, but yeah.
Maybe prime Trent Bolt in with white ball cricket, not in a test match.
I'll have a look at Trent Bolt's fastest ball.
I'll have a skull bet he doesn't bowl anything quicker than 145 in the World Test Championship.
But ever?
No, of course, I said.
And there's got to be a game.
When they made World Cup final, he would have been
over. I'll take 152. I think he's bowled.
You're taking over?
Yeah.
I'll take under every day of the week with that.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Trent Bolt,
right.
fastest ball ever.
No way he's bowled 150 clicks. But we're taking away, again, this is what happens with these two. They've opened the bowling for New Zealand for the last 8 to 10 years. So that's insane. If you can have an opening bowling partnership for that long, we talk about Broad, we talk about Anderson, we talk about Cummins, we talk about Stark and Hazelwood. We should have these two in the same conversation. So shout out to them. This is a massive moment for them. Who the third quick is? Do they go with Wagner? Henry is bowling out of his skin. You kind of can't pick Henry. I think they'll go the spinner in Patel because at 7 they can either go Jamison or Colin de Gronholm. Both, Jamison's bowling probably puts him over the line, but de Gronholm bowls a heap of swing, can bat and has a mullet. So I think de Gronholm's mullet and his big hitting get him over the line at 7. And then you go sort of Southey, Bolt. Henry or Wagner is going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting what they do there.
Speed of Bolt. I think I'm in trouble here.
I think you're in massive trouble, man. I think you're in massive trouble.
147 is the quickest we can find.
Ever record, yeah.
Well, that's recorded in the IPL. That's his fastest ball.
If he's not bowling quicker in the IPL, he's never bowled quicker than that in his life.
Can we go to the nets?
It's obviously a massive game. Both teams coming at this a different way. India have dominated this sport the last 2 years. They dominate it every year, but They are the global superpower. They've got the best depth. They've won everywhere. Now we've got this new format that's a test, closest thing to a test World Cup, I guess. Let's be the first one.
3 years in the making?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a great, we've talked about it, it's a great concept. So let's confirm that we're the dominant ones. Whereas the Black Caps look at this and say, bugger being the younger brother, bugger being...
They're the underdogs.
They're the underdogs. Who's the number one team going into this?
Kiwis.
Kiwis, exactly. Yeah. Who's the team that, can play on these conditions? Kiwis. Who's won a game this week in England? Kiwis. So, actually, can you get the odds for us, Marks? I wouldn't shock me if New Zealand were favourites here.
Yeah.
The fact they can't bat for a draw and get the win is just absolute ludicrous for me. Watch England have 3 days of rain now. It's absolute crap. But the way both these teams are looking at it, and we all say we love the way that early declarations, attacking, batting at moments, strategic,
playing for wins.
They're playing for wins. So I would really love to see the Black Caps win this. I reckon it's going to be a great matchup. And India have everything to prove here. They've won everything under the sun the last 2 years. This is it.
So Kiwi Mac has had his say. I think I'll back him as well and go with the Kiwis in this one. What do you bet you two boys on the end of the table?
Yeah, I reckon the Black Caps for mine.
Yep.
From what I saw.
Don't do it, Monks. Don't do it, Monks. Go for India, would you?
You want to give it a little kiss of death?
You got some odds there for us, James?
Yeah. Yes, so New Zealand are favourites. $2.80 at the moment. Yeah.
Geez, that's good. So what's the draw?
So what happens in the result of a draw? They're both winners.
Yeah. Which is just disgusting.
Isn't it?
That's just disgusting for me. So what, we're going to get Williamson and Coley. But the way these England pitchers have been playing, there'll be a result if we get 5 days of cricket. Because the ball,
as long as it doesn't rain.
What I think 10 bowlers can do here is we'll get 40 wickets.
The way the conditions have been, you need 3.5 days.
Yeah.
3.5 days, you'll get a result.
Yeah. And the way
India love it. If you're going to,
you can just tell Williamson to look at this, and whatever, Coley may as well. If draw, we both get it, we may as well go for the win and get it.
Yeah.
I can just imagine they'd rather do that, and that attacking mentality. Yeah. It's really I think it's and we all do. We think it's a brilliant concept. I want to sort of.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things. Maybe more Test cricket. Less. You put more money into it. Get more incentive behind it.
Can we agree on something? Test cricket is a pinnacle of cricket.
No, it's cricket. That's what cricket is. That's what cricket. The rest is.
And you've got a T20.
The other stuff's entertainment.
You've got a T20 World Cup. You've got an ODI World Cup. Make a pinnacle of Test cricket.
Yeah, the other stuff.
There's no way you can have a month-long tournament of Test cricket, mathematically.
But that's why they do it over 2 years and have come up with this strange concept. But.
And then, it's the first time they've done it. It's never going to be perfect the first way. So make the changes, go as you long. And the fact it's New Zealand and India, you couldn't have a scrappier underdog and a bigger,
the powerhouse,
evil oligarch, ruling over world cricket. So
Thanos of cricket.
And the fact it's in England, it's just cricket is such a weird sport. The fact we've got India versus New Zealand in London is just awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I do too.
And I hope it gets packed out. And they will at Lords. They love their cricket, and it should be great.
Pepe, do you want to talk about some of the Australian squad going into the West Indies?
I can take it. I was going to scull for being wrong on the Trent Bolt fastest
why don't you do that? I think, what was it, 7 kilometres per hour on that one too?
Yeah,
5.
I missed out. It seems like it's 148 is the best that we could come up with. I had 152.
Swing bowler bowling 150 clicks. I mean, if he could bowl 150, he'd be like a video game character.
Well, that's all we've found. So Trent Bolt's only bowling about 3 clicks quicker than I can bowl. That's weird.
Yeah, the Yams. It's been a while since we had a Yam shout out on the Esky.
Has anyone seen our scorebook from the 2020-21 season? It's lost.
You lost the book?
I didn't lose it.
It's probably a ginseng.
It's in a Chinese restaurant.
They would have burnt that.
Yeah.
I've got photo evidence of us being there.
Yep.
Couldn't tell you if we were there.
Mate, I think it's been made into a few dim sums.
That secret sauce is
that's right.
The time that I got stats. That's good because I had a stinker this year.
The time that me and Burnsy put on 200 run opening partnership has been rolled up and scuffled down the throats of the patrons.
If you weren't there, you won't know about it. You'll know about it. Peps will tell you about it.
You let us know about this. Well, West Indies a tour, if you wouldn't mind. We also play Bangladesh in that. I'm going to scull a beer.
You're going to scull that beer. I'm going to talk us about this West Indies tour. They named a squad, and then they had to make a couple changes to the squad because a couple guys you guys may have heard of aren't playing. They've said they're not going to play. Pat Cummins, Dave Warner, Glenn Maxwell, Kane Richardson, Daniel Sams, and the big Stoyne have all said, we're not playing. We've done enough bubble bullshit. We've travelled around. We've isolated.
Well, all of them, they all played in India, didn't they?
They're all in the IPL, so they're all involved. And I think Kane Richardson pulled out just before it was ended. Daniel Sams actually caught the cocoa, the poor bugger. So they've all said, nope, we're not doing this for it must be shit being in isolation. If you're turning down a tour of the West Indies to play T20 cricket, it must be grim. And then what these guys have gone through,
cabin fever.
Come back, spend time with your families. Smudge also not playing. He's got a nagging elbow that he picked up in the IPL. It just was re-aggravated in the IPL. So for our sake, as Australian cricket fans, the IPL finishing may not have been the worst thing because I think it might be a bit more serious than we're being led to believe.
And as an Australian cricket fan, I couldn't give two fucks about this tour. I would really like Stephen Smith to get right for the Ashes.
Absolutely, 100%. Or to be honest, T20 World Cup. If you can't play that, but you can play Ashes, I'd rather that.
Yeah, but I'd also say us here on the Esky resurrecting West Indies cricket. We want to see the West Indies do well on this tour.
The world cricket needs a strong West Indies. It needs a strong West Indies.
Oh yeah, maybe it's a good thing we're not playing these guys. Maybe West Indies can win. West Indies actually have named a pretty strong squad. Like Kyron Pollard.
Short format, they're always good.
They've so there's a bunch of these little tournaments sort of going around like series going around in that lead up to the T20 World Cup.
Well, the Caribbean tournament I think is in September as a comparison.
Yeah, July I think.
Finishes, yes. So
there are 1 days in there as well. So it's quite. I think it's about a month long.
You are right. So I think the IPL was September, and they wanted the Caribbean to start earlier, so that they could hopefully get their full in and get their guys to come back across from both series. But
it's getting quite awkward because everything was jammed in pre T20 World Cup. IPL being put now it's just
more jammed in.
It's sort of jumbled up at the moment. So there is still some. Aaron Finch is captaining the squad. The Agar brothers are there. I think Wes is the big one. Shout out Simo, who wanted to talk about his drive on the second.
Today?
Yeah.
Shout out to Simo Van Buers if you're with us. Best drive I've ever seen on the second hole of Fairview.
Green?
It's probably 20 out.
Okay.
You know how the fairway runs out and then there's that upslope and then that downslope? He cleared that.
Shit. Driver doing it plenty for him.
Yeah, I was there for two. So pretty much the same.
So exactly. May as well be the same. Probably chunked the chip anyway. So.
Yeah. Interesting because he played it down at the time. I was going, mate, that's the best driver. Oh, yeah.
Typical Simo. Right. Enough of that. Anyway, Jason Beredorf is in the squad. Look, it is that T20 mix. I know Trevor, went completely off track. Trevor Hones, the head of the selection committee that we have. I don't know.
Yes.
Which, again, we could do a separate Esky just on selection committees.
Yeah, the wankers that pick the team. Yep.
He's come out and said, look, we had our team picked for the World Cup. We knew exactly where we were going with these guys ruling out. And it's a bit of, bravado and just chat. Obviously, all those guys are playing. Now he said, all right, you guys have your opportunity here in the West Indies and hopefully in Bangladesh. There's big chat that's just not going to happen. There's spots up for grabs, which will be interesting. I can't imagine there. I think it just may be a bit of smoke to try and keep interest in the series, to keep some guys interested. Maybe Moises can hold his spot down.
Mate, it's
Mitch Marsh is Mitch Marsh in or out? Like
tree outs.
It says show up to the tree outs, you big dumb bitch. So
shout out to the longest yard.
Elite movie. As soon as I sent you that quote, I was like, I want to watch that movie. It is the newer model. The older one I've tried to cop and it's no bueno. Not Burt Reynolds. Good on you. I nearly said Burt Newton.
Dude, jeez.
Not doing too well at the moment. Big moon face Newton. So
let's roll on.
We're gonna wrap up the cricket there. So the big one is this World Test Series. Look, we know we got a lot of Indian fans out there. So
Get at us in the comments.
Talk us in
They
the
probably
comments.
will. I think we all back the Kiwis.
We all back the Kiwis. So you guys,
I think New Zealand win this.
yeah, I think.
From what I've seen, and if
The conditions favour them.
and if Williamson comes back and they got De Graan home, yeah, for mine, Southie comes back perhaps.
Yeah.
I think they're the better side.
Like, you can't have a better warm-up. Like, your warm-up matches were international games against England in England, and you win that series 1-0. So
Time will tell. 24 hours from now.
this time next week, we'll know, and India probably won on the second day. But look, let us know in the comments if you're confident, if you're not confident. Yeah, as the resident black cap here, go Kiwis. Kane Williamson to turn up in this game.
Oh, who's going to be your man of the match?
I got Williamson, real captain's performance.
I'm going Conway.
Conway?
Yeah, ride the hot hand. I don't hate that.
I'm
Sneakier than there.
I'm going to go my man Trent
Bolt the ball, 160 clicks.
Just get over 148. That was the over.
Have you scored that bitch yet?
Yeah,
Yeah, he put it away.
Very good. Oh, I emptied the tank.
I'll go Coley. His favourite.
Man of the match in
better
a
get it,
losing game.
side.
Yeah.
Monks all over the shop there. That is cricket, but it is great. I can't wait to see what happens. Just no draw, for the love of God, no draw. Let it one team or the other win.
Well, the draw is the favourite at $2.36.
No, don't happen, please.
Yeah, see, I don't think it will. I don't think teams will play for the draw. I mean, obviously, if it's day 5 and you've got to scrap a draw out.
Yeah, I don't think we've got to worry about rain. That's it.
It's England too.
It's England. So, yes.
Just let us know about the
Water
weather
is
report.
wet and very much so in England.
We must move forward. Let's talk about the NBA.
Yes. Muggs, can you bring us up the playoff bracket just so we know where we currently are?
Let's start with the Nets and the Bucks.
Yeah, let's start in the East.
The Nets led this series 3-2. Obviously went out there in Brooklyn, got the first 2 games. Bucks came back 2 apiece. And game 5, the Nets gave up a big lead in this one. Was 17 points at one stage. KD...
Alien.
Yeah. Got a bit warm, let's put it that way.
Let's put it this way. One of the best NBA playoff games in history.
Ever. Yeah, big time.
Yeah. He played 48 minutes, 48 points, 17 boards, 10
He played
assists.
all the
49.
He played the entire game.
He didn't miss a second. Did not miss a second. Harden got rushed back into the side. He'd look fucking useless, let's be honest. He had 6 points.
Which was the worry at the start. I thought, oh, they've rushed him in. They're desperate here.
Yeah, and then
Forgetting they had the alien that is Kevin Durant.
Indeed. How do you guard this man, KD?
How do you guard this team?
Well, I'll give a shout out to Langdon, our good mate Langdon.
With elbows up, that's how you do it.
He's made a great point about the Bucks, and we'll get into the injuries across every single team in the playoffs left. They're the only healthy team. They've got a guy who's all NBA. He's won Defensive Player of the Year, who plays the exact same position of Kevin Durant in Giannis Antetokounmpo. So, geez, that was smooth.
That was nice, actually.
Thank you.
Well
I had to say quick because if I stuffed up, I was just going to keep going.
I think confidence is key there.
You know what doesn't help? Talking about it for 15 seconds afterwards.
Can you just repeat that?
You've got the Greek freak. We'll go with that. Matched up literally in the same position of KD. How is KD allowed to go for a 50 piece?
Well, I think KD's had the better of him through the series.
Absolutely.
But
So
Giannis never guards him defensively.
he avoids him. Exactly.
Yeah,
you
they
can't.
send PJ Tucker or that.
100%. Who the KD stopper?
Yeah. Elbows up.
I think Durant had 49. PJ had a big donut. So, which his game isn't about
In this
scoring,
game.
but gee whiz, you can't have Giannis on that team, and I completely agree with the sentiment. If you are the defensive player of the year, if you are the best player in your team and someone's running off like that, you say, I'm going to him. All right, whatever. He wants to clear out. I'm going up at him. You're that long. You're that tall. Like, that's why Rudy Gobert, that's why Giannis get defensive player of the year. That's why you're all NBA defense. Because you're that long. He can't.
Yep.
That's why KD's so good offensively. He's 7 foot tall. He can just get above everyone.
Yeah.
So stick your arm in the air, put your head in his face,
He's a freak.
and pick him up. Yeah, exactly. Like, he's a freak. But you
Let's
have
go
one.
back, Alien.
You have one. Because the big story was, you have Giannis versus KD. You've got
The
Drew
freak versus
Middleton on Harden or Kyrie. Then you've got Middleton versus Harden. You're not going to find a better matchup, Milwaukee. Like, you're the only team that can go head to head with a fully healthy Nets. They are not even close to fully healthy. They're up to one good player.
Yeah.
And he wins it single handedly. So I don't know if it's the coach. I don't know if it's Giannis's mindset, but it falls on Giannis for mine, and it's a good point from Langdon. So shout out to you.
Can the coach do anything at this stage of the season in basketball? Do you think?
Oh, he can jam up for a game. Like, he can get him motivated.
Do you think that change? Like,
I don't think it's a motivation thing. I think it's just timing, timeouts. It's all right. Calm it down.
strategic
game management,
When someone's running
game
that
plan.
hot, like you have Giannis on your team. Use him as the defensive freak that he is. He's not just gonna. He's gonna get his 30 points and 15 rebounds, whatever. That's gonna happen. That's not what you needed in the moment.
Well, they obviously planned in the last game that they were going to use PJ to take KD out of the game,
And
it worked.
and did a good job of it.
But then, of course, they've learnt from that and like, well, how do we, well, I'm just like, I can take. I know that's going to match up. That's the one-on-one. And then KD's probably gone back and gone, well, I can win 80% of these, so I'm going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
You're paying this man $50 million a year. He's one of the best 5 players in the universe.
He's in your top 5?
And PJ Tucker is manning up
Definitely.
on him.
Yeah. Yep.
And you've got one of the other top 5 players there.
Yeah, exactly. If they're going to clear
Like
out and give you one-on-one looks, you're like, I might try
Like
some of these.
if you need to bring in PJ Tucker to stop KD, that tells me Giannis's mindset that he can't go on. He can't go one-on-one with KD.
And he couldn't in the early games. Like,
Yep.
you'd say KD was just walking all around him. So it's
So this defensive team of the year, this defensive player of the year is just fake noise. It proves that they are not properly adjudicated, those defensive teams of the year. It's just, it is what, look, God.
maybe matchups make it as well. Like, again, Durant's an alien. So it's
Giannis is just as big an alien. I'm sorry.
true.
You
True. We're talking the
him
freak
go
versus
50.
alien. So, yeah.
I think KD looks more alien-like for mine.
They're wrong.
One's a Greek goddess. So.
As our resident long and wrong on the table, you are the closest.
Yeah, I think, we're talking about Riggs.
I was talking about Cox.
He's very much shorter than
I said
everyone.
long, so that can't be right.
Yeah, exactly.
Steve Nash has entered the chat.
Well, speaking of coaches doing nothing and Steve Nash, did you see him at the end of the game?
Yeah, give him
just going up straight to him, just like nestling in his arms, like
Yeah.
thank you. This is the easiest job in the world.
Yes.
Milwaukee tomorrow.
Don't think they get it done.
You don't reckon?
No.
You think the Nets will do it?
Oh, is it back in Milwaukee?
It's in Milwaukee. I think this goes game 7.
Do you think it's a 7?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think Milwaukee win the series. I think they have to. Yeah,
That's a big shout.
Yeah.
the
I
series.
think looking at Harden, I don't think he's ready. I don't think Kyrie can come back, and I don't think Durant. That's an all-time performance.
Yeah. In your home crowd.
I think he can do it again, though. He's got 2 games to be able to
He
pull
can't
it
do
off
that again. No one can do that
No.
again. That's
ridiculous.
He's already done it twice. So
Hasn't done that twice.
he did it for Golden State. He had 45 in a playoff game. So
But
to get him over the
look,
line,
you're
not
looking
that-
at the
he's
you look at
not
the
that
numbers.
bright.
You're looking at the numbers
I'm
on the
looking at
screen,
numbers. I'm
looking at
looking at
that
numbers, yes.
performance, how he would just get the ball, and you were just looking like he's putting that ball in the net and then just going up the other end. He was scoring from everywhere. He was just so hot. Like I absolutely agree. He could score his 40, but the way he was just keeping that team in the game, like. Holiday needs to step up a little bit offensively. Middleton needs to just step up all around. He's got a bit of playoff P around him. You know, Paul George cops a lot of flack for being shit in the playoffs.
We'll
Middleton's
get to that in a
Middleton's got some good stats, but he needs to step up in big moments, and it's Giannis for me. He needs to just step up on the defensive side of the floor. If Durant can get half of that, they win that so easily. That's how good Durant was.
So my thoughts, I think, as you said, Harden was probably undercooked. Maybe he's less undercooked for the next one. They probably still lose, but I think they win Game 7. Harden coming
I think
back
it's
to
definitely a
form.
Game 7, but and I would say, like, stupidly, I'm going with Milwaukee because that was one guy winning that game. I'm going with Milwaukee to win this in 7.
I'm back in the Nets.
Great series. There's a lot of great
Isn't it?
series.
We need the
Yeah,
villain
good
Nets.
is it?
It's a good, or I think, well, besides the Suns clearly blowing out the Nuggets, the rest of the series has all been excellent.
Indeed.
Speaking of which,
Into the other Eastern Conference semi-finals, the 76ers.
those 70s.
Jeez, you'd hate to be a Philly fan. They have blown 2 of the biggest leads you'll ever see in NBA playoffs. Game 4 was like, okay, like maybe Atlanta played really well for this to happen. Game 5 happened today. They went down by 3. Embiid was really good in the first half, not much in the second. Seth Curry was really good.
Well, Embiid and Curry were the only two that scored in the second half.
So take that into account.
So keep going, yes.
And Ben Simmons. Look, I don't want to shit on an Aussie bloke. I really don't. He had 4 of 14 from the free throw line. 34% in the playoffs.
The Hawks know the game plan.
They were deliberate. They were giving him clear path fouls. Like that's one where you just like Hoyter was doing it, pulling the jersey, and you go, yeah, mate, go to the line. Shoot 2, have the ball back, and then we'll talk to you.
Yeah, he did have the most assists to the 76ers, so he's involved in scoring opportunities.
Mate, his game outside of his shooting is unbelievable.
Yeah.
Now he's a defense. Now he's someone who could stop Kevin Durant. He'd get up there, but you're getting paid $40 million. You're getting paid $40 million a year to shoot 34%. Yeah. From the free throw line, it is grim. It's grim watching.
Well, when he sunk 2 back to back, the whole crowd just went bananas.
If he was if he was an Australian, we are bagging the shit out of this bloke. But thank God he is. So
I want to love him. I want to love him so bad.
And it's gone from quirky that he doesn't shoot threes to no, he is.
You lose game. You
are
losing
games.
Do you think if he
played
played
the 3 point? It's now you are good at dunking, or you just have to get rid of. You're just passing the ball and setting up players.
Well, do you think if he played a different position other than guard, like he played as a forward, you'd give him more leeway? Like say
at
Zion
shooting
Williams
that
is?
percentage, no.
Still terrible.
Well, when Joel and Jokic are going out there and shooting 88% from the line, no,
it's definitely not a size. It's just a.
Well, Capella, I think in this.
Capella does nothing.
He did nothing as a comparison to Embiid. So
yeah, he gets boards. I get that, but I don't know. It just from me as
horses for courses, maybe.
Not even that.
I guess I think Mac's point. If you're paying him $40-50 million a year,
you want 65% from the line.
Shaq was a career 50% free throws.
Yeah,
if he made 80%, I think he had the scoring record. That's how bad he was. That's where Hacker Shaq and Hacker Simmons that's where his birth. You'd take his 50% chance. Simmons is 30% chance of hitting one of his free throws. Absolutely, you foul him. It's just good. It's just smart play. That's how you claw back at 26 points. They literally won the game by doing that. So. There's got to be a fair bit of head noise in that as well.
Yeah.
What is it? 10 feet away. You're 10 feet away with no one in your face. You just put in the hole.
Well, Embiid missed 2 late as well to tie the game up, which really cost them big too. So maybe it's a little bit of. He's usually pretty good, but
2 games in a row, mate. If I'm a Philly fan, you'd be watching this game 6 behind the pillow, one eye, just scared of it.
Yeah. Well, to finish this off, they did have a 26-point lead going in the third quarter. I think they had some percentages, their win percentage chance was 97 to 99%. It's a game you don't lose.
You could not bet on them.
Yeah.
They were $1 and 0.
Yeah.
If I wanted to call sports bet and say, Philly's up 26 points, can I chuck a tenner on it and get $1 back? No, you can't. That's you shouldn't lose from there.
Yeah, and then
that's what the bookies are saying. You mathematically can't lose that. That's why they offer that.
Yeah.
And they somehow they lost to math.
Yeah. Well, Trae Young. Let's give Trae some props. 39
today. But mate, I don't think Trae won that game.
There's no way
Philly lost it.
There's no way Philly win this series. After that, there is no way their psyche is in the shape.
Well, next game's back in Atlanta, isn't it?
It'll be an ATL.
Back in the A. So
which is a loud crowd. And
I think
Trae,
I
don't know if you saw Trae icing his shoulder. It's so comical. He's got a literal king size mattress over his arm. And he just goes out. I think he had 18 assists in the first game. Went off for was it 36, 37? He's a gun. He is absolute. There's no way Philly's psyche is in any shape to win one of the next or two. They have to win the next 2 games.
Yeah, they got to win 2.
And if they do,
have the hot hand.
If they do win, I don't think they're beaten any of the other 2 teams that are in their conference as well.
That was my question. That was my question for you.
I'd rather watch Atlanta go through at this point because I think they can compete with the other 2 teams, whereas I don't think these guys the way they're playing at the moment.
It is sad because you know where the Eastern Conference champion's coming out of. It's coming out of Milwaukee or Brooklyn, whatever that may be.
Oh, maybe Atlanta can shock them. That's why I kind of like.
Shock them for a game.
Yeah,
even if you gave me Durant, look, if Harden and Kyrie weren't playing, then we've got a real series, and I'd probably even tip Atlanta. But
can their bigs at Atlanta match up with the Bucks and the Nets?
I think you're harsh on Capella as well. You think he just gets rebounds. He's very good defensively.
He's a good talent. He's not a scorer.
And he's quite good in the pick and roll.
Man. What about the forwards?
Oh, Huerta's got to hit some shots. Bogdanovic has to hit some shots.
He hit some shots in this game.
John Collins.
Bogdanovic today was stinky.
He had the wrong Bogdanovic. There's two, yeah.
There's two.
The one from Utah, I think he hit 9-3.
That's a Charles Barkley question, mate. They asked, I don't know, I can't remember his name, but he's he's the Instagram fella, and he does the impersonations. And he's doing Charles Barkley, and he's asking Charles Barkley about which Bogdanovic he likes, and the real Charles Barkley has got no idea.
That's very funny.
Right. I
good crew.
Anyways.
So that, as far as I'm concerned, but next time we talk, Atlanta will be...
I shot my
Boyan versus Bogdan. It's very difficult.
I'll give you a spell on that one, Sean. Don't stress. But yeah, by the next time you hear our voices, Atlanta will be in the Eastern Conference Champ, which is no one would have picked that at the start of the year. So good Atlanta. And I'm being quite facetious with Philly, but there's no way they can handle it. Over to the West.
Yeah.
The Clippers go up 3-2, and they've done very well. The LA Cowards, as I call them.
Well,
as you call
the big story.
There's a lot of people calling them that.
The big story. So for today's game to go up 3-2, was Leonard is out with his knee injury, and they're thinking possible ACL, which is huge out for them. But then playoff Paul George come out. I think he had 30-plus points today.
36 or 37, I think it was. But that was, he was very good. Like, I'll admit it. I hate Paul George with every... Yeah,
without Lennon in the team, you'd think, they're done. Jazz are going to do this easy. But then Mitchell was pretty quiet today.
Very quiet, yeah.
But they got the win, so they're up 3-2. Like, they just need to sneak one game, and
they just need a halve. They get a game in LA for.
I don't think they beat Suns though, unfortunately.
No, I don't think they beat the Jazz either. I think Kawhi's injury is just going to shake them. The fact it was kind of a weird one. He did his knee, and everyone just thought, a bit of a knee tweak. Yeah. Now all the news is an ACL. So
he's not going to be all right.
He's not going to be all right. Now it's not about Game 7. It's about my God, like Kawhi is this alien. We talk about him being the machine, right? Have a laugh about it. And if it is an ACL, that's just absolutely shattering, because he is one of the best players to watch when he's up and going.
ACL's huge.
ACL's just massive for a basketball player. You actually don't hear a lot of it in the NBA. Like an ACL to an NBA player is crippling. Like, that is the explosion they have from their lower body, from their knees. That's, you don't want to say it's career ending for a bloke who's got chronic injuries, but he won't be the same quiet coming back from this, which is just so... Shit,
I think that's the worry you have, that when a guy coming back from ACL, that is an explosive athlete. He's like, does he still have it?
Exactly. So that,
you'd take a 90% Kawhi anyway, but it's you always know that if there was 10% more, he was always better than that.
Exactly right. And the man's done everything. He's won 2 chips. He was never going to be an MVP. Like, he just, that's not the way he does his thing. It's like we're talking about him retiring. Like, fingers crossed it's not an ACL. We just hope he can get back to Kawhi. But look, Clippers actually won the game. Like, shout out to Paul George. Went off. Couldn't hit you. Reggie Jackson chipped in.
Can Paul George do it again?
No, I don't think he can. I think Donovan was really down this game.
He was. He was very quiet.
It was sneaky close, and then sort of got away. Clippers played excellent. They played the best that they physically could. I just don't, similar to the Durant thing, I don't think they can do that again against the Jazz. I think the Jazz just are a better all-round team. Again, Rudy Gobert, you got the 3-time defensive player of the year in the middle, and they score 120 points. Like, again, shows what the award is, what it is. But I think Jazz as a team get together, win a game in LA, then go back to Utah. And win that.
What I think is really interesting with this, and what we were just talking before with the 76ers, we got the 2 number 1 seeds with a game down, and last week I think we were talking about how underrated they've been. So to lose both would be quite interesting, and how it just blows up the playoffs from what everyone Well, everyone was kind of saying that, hey, these guys are good. You know, they made the one and they're underrated.
Everyone's writing them off.
Writing them off. Maybe it was fair in that assumption, but hopefully, I think both series might end up going to 7 games. It wouldn't surprise me if the 3 remaining series all go to 7 games.
How good's the NBA right now?
Yeah, right.
Well, how good do you feel being the Suns?
That's why the Chris Paul, like, that's just if Chris Paul was fully healthy and with that team right now, you would have to say the Suns win the ship right now.
Yep, I'm back.
Literally every team has a major injury to one of their best players, except for Milwaukee, and I'll count the Coco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, full bill of health at Milwaukee.
Full bill of health, and you throw that out. Like, again, Durant went Durant, so that's why I'll reserve full judgment. If Milwaukee lose this series, I will give a 3-minute rant on Milwaukee next week on the Esky.
Okay, we're down to 3 minutes.
But to finish off on the Suns, they did sweep the Nuggets for nothing. So they're currently sitting at home waiting to see who they will play. So for Chris Paul's COVID test, it was probably the perfect timing to do that.
You saw the best story out of this, didn't you?
No, go.
The fight.
Suns in 4. Suns in 4.
Yes.
And on the Esky, we
supposedly that bloke is 2-1 and fights in the crowd. So
really,
yes.
Well, in this one, he was 2-0 because he was getting bad mouth. And if anyone hasn't seen it, just YouTube.
Suns in 4 guy.
Yeah. Flogged the fuck out of 2 Nuggets fans.
So he's been interviewed. It's quite a good yarn. Like, he's a bloke, a lifetime Phoenix fan living in Denver. So the game was in Denver.
Yes.
Apparently he's being a smart ass in the crowd, like yamming it up.
Yeah, he's giving them shit.
And then those 2 flogs were walking away, like flashing that they had several watches on their arms.
Oh, cool.
And he said something like, they're all fake anyway. They've come at him, and he's pulled out like a wad of cash from his pocket, you know, in case he wasn't a complete fuckwit. And said, hey, look at all the money you got. And the guy's like, whatever, okay. And he sort of turns around, he's watching the game, and then cops a punch to the back of the head. So and this guy's, a bit of a hero, and then turns around and just decks the shit out of him.
Mate,
he grabs one bloke.
He was landing, absolutely landing, and then the guy gets in his face and he pushed him away. He's like, get out of here. He's like, Suns in 4. Suns in 4. Absolute shout out to you, good sir.
And now he's a worldwide man.
And that was in game 3 as well. So he knew what was happening. After he flogged that bloke, he knew what the Phoenix Suns
They were a lot better than the Nuggets were through that series. But back to my Chris Paul point, it's a good time. It's not a great time to forget COVID at any time, but it's from a day standpoint to get it now where the other series all probably going to go to 7 games. He'll get enough days, hopefully, for rests. Hopefully he can then have some negative COVID tests and it won't impact the Suns. That's probably the main thing we're trying to get out of this.
I think he'll have, because it's a 10-day thing, I think he definitely misses game 1.
Yeah.
And maybe game 2 as well, but he'll they won't be able to, as long as everything gets cleared, double negative, then he'll be back before the game. They can't lose without Paul, essentially, is what I'm saying. So he'll be back for sort of game 3.
So a question for you, because a lot of the guys coming back from COVID haven't been the same. Do you think they win with an 80% Chris Paul?
Well, that I don't know. I don't know who they're playing. I don't know the result. Is it?
Well,
I think it's Jazz.
Jazz or Clippers. So
I don't know. Ask me that next week when it's 1-1.
Will do.
With the Jazz.
The internet's a funny thing, isn't it?
What are you 2 doing over there?
You're on the internet, so it's close enough.
We're just watching.
Watching Suns in 4 guy.
I was this close. If Chris Paul hadn't got the COVID, I had Suns in 4 guy for a beer.
Well, this guy, the Nuggets guy, he throws the first punch and then he just goes limp and is just eating.
Well, he probably wasn't expecting anything back.
Good.
The other bloke's just grabbed him.
No, he's trying to protect himself.
The other bloke pulls him down. And
it's like an older brother flogging the
so
hey, get out of here, would you, you bum? And then apparently, like, beers from the top row were just getting thrown on him, and he was like, yeah, bring it on. Suns in 4 guy.
Yeah.
Oh, fucking losers.
All right. Let's get through. What do we got? What's next?
NBA All-Pro
teams.
teams. First team, no arguments. Steph Curry, Luka Doncic, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Nikola Jokic. No dramas there?
No.
Second
No
team. Chris Paul, Dame Lillard, LeBron James, Julius Randle, Joel Embiid. No dramas there.
Yeah, pretty fair.
Third team, Kyrie, Bradley Beal, Jimmy Butler, Paul George, Rudy Gobert. No dramas there. I suppose the big question mark is around a few of the Brooklyn Nets players. James Harden, Kevin Durant. Obviously, only played half a season, but the thing that I wanted to bring to light was James Harden, 44 games versus Jimmy Butler, 52 games. 8 games difference. Harden has him in every category except field goal percentage, 46 versus 49.
Close. It's all close. It's all not huge differences. What are you getting at?
No, they're not. But James Harden was probably going close to being the MVP before he got hurt.
Yes.
Is it a snub or is it play on? Jim, your thoughts?
Yeah, I've chimed in at the right time, I think. And I've actually mulled over this last couple of days. You're looking purely at the numbers offensively. And then, although you should never make an all NBA team shooting 24% from three as a guard or forward. It's disgusting. Yep. But he's one of the best on-ball defenders. We talk about who's going to go to Durant. He's one of the best on-ball defenders.
Yes, you don't have his defensive stats
in the league, and there's no arguing that, whereas James Harden is a literal turnstile. So if your argument is they're pretty close with those stats,
that's the difference.
Then you throw the defense on there.
Plus one's
if there was a
healthy,
foot, like, so. And again, like it's, like I said off air, there's 15 blokes there. So people are going to be stiff. The fact that there's no Durant, there's no Harden, would they rather be on there than, up 3 games to 2 right now in the conference semis?
Like there's, for example, there's no Young, there's no Mitchell, there's no Booker. For guys that are playing playoffs.
All guards.
For guys that are playing in the playoffs. Is what I'm getting.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. Exactly right. So that people will always miss. It's the conversation's sake. The issue is blokes have incentives in their contracts to make you, so you think, oh, God.
They get paid.
They could have got paid an extra couple million on top of
the
their
incentives
30.
That big? Like, I'm not that good on the business side of sports.
Probably not ginormous. So, like,
these are fairly big. These ones are quite big.
Yeah.
But I mean,
so if you make the third team all pro,
but it's essentially you got to make an all pro team.
I think it's all pro. Yeah. Okay. It's all in one. It's all in one basket.
Yeah. So, like, but if you're a guy making 50 mil, and then it's like your all pro is like if you make the all pro team, you get an extra 2.
Yeah.
Like realistically, that's a small percentage.
Yeah, but
Quick
still
math.
$2 million.
Exactly
it's still $2 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so
for those guys that are say on 5 mil a year,
big.
then that's huge. Like I'm with you. So
anyways,
you'd hope guys wouldn't get stiff, but like Macca said, you can only pick 15.
Correct. Something that is unanimous. LaMelo Ball wins Rookie of the Year. He beats out Tyrese Halliburton from the Sacramento Kings.
And we were worried about
Anthony Edwards from Minnesota.
Sorry. We were worried about that a couple of months ago as well with his wrist injury because he was clearly dominating. He was on track to win the Rookie of the Year. And then his wrist injury goes and you go, oh, fuck, is he still going to win it based on his current work?
Yeah, exactly. Can what he's done win him and then came back and killed it?
He came back and he killed it for the end of the season. So it fair award. I'd say.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Every award winner was very short. Like Joker, easy. Randall, most improved, easy. Gobert, for whatever reason, easy. Rookie, quite easy. So I don't know, and they were all favourites. Or Joker was close to that at the start of the year. So if you are a future bettor in the NBA, get in that first 2 or 3. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think Embiid might have been slightly ahead of him, but we're talking 1, 2, 3. So
100%.
You see how they presented him with the award?
Yeah, it was pretty cool actually.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's a good way to do it. Like he knew he was getting it at some stage, so may as well make it pretty cool.
Yeah,
and the rookies are they seem to be the funniest, personalities. Is these 19-year-old kids getting all this money and thrown in there? Anthony Edwards is hilarious. They're just young, dumb, rich, and world class athletes. So good on them. I'm a massive
same as us,
fan,
except rich.
Yeah, exactly. and funny. Let's get into. You want to do your hockey minute with Sean?
Well, we'll give us your 2 minutes.
It probably won't even be 2 minutes at this point. So that finishes up NBA. And what we're talking about was we quickly want to cover the NHL playoffs as we have been the last couple of weeks.
Golden Knights.
The Golden Knights took an early lead over the Canadians, but the Canadians today tied it back up, so they're at 1-1. Same thing on the other side of the draw. The Islanders from New York took a lead of Tampa Bay Lightning, but then the Lightning pulled it back yesterday. So both series currently 1-1. It's been some excellent hockey so far for those that have been watching. But as we say, we'll follow the series. I think we'll probably very close towards the end of the series by the time we record next week. So we might have a winner. Well, not a winner. We will have the two teams that will be playing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. If they go deep in the series, if they go to 6 or 7, then would probably be later than that.
And we know heaps about hockey.
Well, yes.
It's played on ice.
Yes, it's played on ice. They wear helmets. They hit a puck with a long stick.
Yep.
Yes.
Moving into
NHLs.
something we hope we know a little bit more about, the UFC263 review. The undercard, 7-second knockout. Terrence McKinney, he smacked up Matt Frivola straight left. The fastest knockout in UFC history, 5 seconds. If you remember back to Jorge Masvidal versus Ben Askren. So 7 seconds, not far off the mark there. And then getting into the first of 3 massive fights in this card, Leon Edwards defeated Nate Diaz in a 5-round epic in a welterweight. No belt.
Just a slugfest.
Yeah, wasn't it? Mate, Edwards fucking beat the shit. He fucking beat the shit out of him for 24 minutes. And then, well, just when you think it's all over, Nate Diaz, he
comes out.
He nearly knocked him out. Mate, this is one of the most entertaining fights I've ever watched in my life. Like Diaz was pissing. He was pissing out blood.
He's got so much scar tissue. Anything that
just
hits him,
opens it up.
Yeah,
you reckon?
Yeah.
See if we can get a photo, Monks.
Oh, mate, it was.
But to just talk shit when you you come in blood again, you've lost the first 4 rounds by getting belted. Yeah, all right, let's go, let's dance. And was swinging for the fence as well. Like, he's a psycho. The man is a psycho.
Yeah,
and
you can't question his heart. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, in a street fight, like he's saying, you know, we've had a battle, but I've actually wobbled you in the end.
Yeah. So there was that moment late in the. Was it late in the 5th round?
5th round.
Yeah. Yep.
He'd got a clean hit on Leon, and he pointed out at Leon's like, "I got you there." Whereas if he had
instead of jumping all over him,
if he had jumped on him, like that would have probably ended the fight or pretty close too.
Mate.
Well, you really wouldn't need to push the pace.
Like he's gassed as well. To jump on someone.
Exactly. We're talking. Yeah. We're in the 5th round by that point. But what was really interesting from the fight as well, like, as you said, Leon Edwards was beating him pillar to post. But I think it was about towards the end of the 3rd round, Diaz started coming forward more, getting punished in the process, but he was actually landing more. So he was actually starting getting back into the fight, and he did late. The 3rd and the 4th round, he got better and better, and the 5th, he then landed the big shot to actually wobble Edwards a bit there, to the point where, like, you know, his legs were very wobbled. Most fights you see that happen, the guy jumped all over the bloke, trying to throw hell and leather to hopefully get the finish. Edwards and Nate Diaz in this case just pointed and said, "I got you." So what could have been?
So what's next? Leon Edwards, he's 29, 19-3. He remains 3rd ranked. Do you think he gets next shot at Usman, or do you think they put him through Colby Covington or Gilbert Burns first?
So Burns just lost to Usman. I think Kobe has the next fight with Usman that's coming up. So
is that penciled in?
I don't think it's official. I think they've, of course, been going back and forth about that. Edwards is the next one up on the list. The Masvidal fight makes sense for him because he, of course, was on the receiving end of the 3-piece and a soda. as a fight maybe to do in the interim if he doesn't want to wait. Probably makes sense for him to wait at this point. Like he's Colby's been there, lost of course, but
So is Burns.
well, that's what I'm saying. Burns was recent. Kobe lost a little while ago. Has had a win, I think, since then. Still on the frame. Makes sense for the rematch there. But if I'm Edwards, maybe I'll wait for that title shot. I wouldn't probably want to fight Masvidal. That bloke's got a chin and can drop some bombs. Diaz, on the other hand, I'd say fun fights.
Yep.
Prize fights.
Money.
Yeah,
Make some money.
Like I don't think he needs to fight the killers in the top of the welterweight division at this point. We know he's good, and he's a fan favorite. Everyone wants to watch him. He's probably the biggest draw on this card. Honestly, that's why people they tune in to watch it and then hanged around for the title fights. Israel's trying to get to that point, but Nate's just he's next level. Like he's huge. Whether say like for example, if Conor beats Dustin. Maybe the Conor fight makes sense. But even if it loses, maybe Conor, the trilogy against Conor makes sense. But I think it's fun fights this fight. Go find your biggest stars that are interested to fight Nate Diaz, make huge money and do that. That's what I think Nate should do.
He'll probably fight a Paul brother.
Yeah.
Could do.
That's it.
Supposedly Vitor Belfort's going to fight some YouTuber not named Paul.
Really?
But yeah, that's out there in the ether at the moment.
How old's he these days?
Almost 40. But he has boxing acumen compared to, say, Woodley and Askren, who are both wrestling backgrounds.
So just back on Edwards real quick. So Gilbert Burns is the co-main event for UFC 264. He's up against Stephen Thompson.
Yes. And Stephen Thompson
He's ranked fourth at the moment.
Yeah. Had 2 title shots against Woodley and lost both. I think one might have been a draw, actually. And one of them was kind of a non-event, but Woodley ended up winning it.
Yep.
I don't see Thompson worrying any of these guys at this point.
No.
Sean, he was your shout of beer. Can you run us through Brandon Moreno becoming the first Mexican-born champion of the UFC?
Well, he submits Figueroa in this, who came into the fight, of course, the champion. These guys fought, I think, like a month and a half ago. Like, it was really, really close. Absolute war. 5 rounds, decision, went to Figueroa to retain. But in this one, I think I said it to you as well, like Figueroa coming into this, he looked flat. He was being beaten to the punch for everything he was trying to do, which was really interesting. Moreno had channeled like he's in a rose. He was doing the I'm the best before the start of the fight. He looked ready. He looked hot. Hot in the sense that he was competitive.
What are you telling us, Sean?
Hot in the other sense?
No, not in the other sense. We should talk about Shields at some point as well. But like he just looked better. Like he'd gone away from his loss, and we've talked about you learn the most from a loss. He'd gone away, figured out all the things he needed to work on, worked on all of them, come back. He was ready. He was prepared. And he really took it to him, got the finish there, and then, as we said, became the first Mexican-born champion in the UFC. So, do they run this back? I think this fight's probably going to... This will be a trilogy at some point.
Yeah, surely.
The Henry Cejudo, as we just mentioned, maybe that makes sense.
Well, Cejudo has been sitting on the sidelines for a few years. So.
Retired. But massive props to him. Massive props to getting the win. He was super emotional after the win. Like it was excellent to see.
And I tell you what, the sportsmanship between the two blokes, you love to see it. Devson put Brandon on his shoulders, lifting him up. Yeah, you don't see that in too many fights on the world stage.
Yeah, I think Brandon came through. What's the fighter series? Ultimate Fighter. I knew it was something for you. He came through one of the Ultimate Fighters, and like on that they did an interview with him originally. It was like, yeah, I hope to be a UFC champion in the future. He's finally done that. He's finally achieved it. Like it's a great outcome. Like massive props to him. Really happy for him.
Moving forward to the big fight of the night. Izzy Adesanya got the win against Marvin Vettori. Tell you what, it went the distance. It went to the decision. I think pretty clearly Izzy was the winner. He really sat back and got some of those calf kicks, those leg kicks.
Really picked him up high.
Marvin can hold his head up high after that effort.
He was in it, but yeah, Israel dominated.
Yeah.
Pillar to post. I think one judge might have given a round to Vittori, but
No, I didn't say it.
But yeah, Israel was best by far.
As a
And-
casual, that was shockingly boring. Can you
Yeah.
is that just because I'm casual, or do
Yeah.
you guys
Yeah,
watch?
no, I tend to agree. Izzy just sat back and just
he picked him apart.
Yeah.
and just worked the leg kicks, and Israel's starting to get that tag, I guess, as a boring fighter. Like,
It wasn't boring by any sense, but
but can you see as a casual fighter if
as a casual fan,
I don't need
yes.
a first round punch straight to the face, Conor McGregor belting you, but like
he just sits back?
Yeah.
he
It's
sits
like
back,
Mayweather,
he's
it's just a
confident,
it's a
and
Mayweather.
He'll leg kick the fuck out of you.
yeah.
So what I
Well,
was
that's the
saying,
thing, like he's a champion. Like he doesn't need to win the fight.
Yep.
Just has to not
So,
lose it. Yeah.
yeah, there's a bit of that. I will say though, because I think I said it to you, Peps, that if Vittori come out blazing in this, I thought Israel would put him away quickly. Vittori was more calculated than that, but I also thought Israel was probably a little bit happier to stay on the outside, play the counter-fighter role.
Yep.
Israel did, of course, call out Robert Whittaker at the end of it, and Robert's the number one contender. He's been sitting there ready to go, sort out the travel arrangements, and they'll do that fight.
Do it here.
Well,
Do it in Australia.
well, I think
I thought it
Israel.
meant Canberra for a second.
In Sean's Rumpus Room. Let's do it.
Do it.
Sponsored by On The Esky.
Downstairs Mooseheads.
Yeah. I think Israel actually wants to do it in New Zealand. So, Auckland, Wellington, wherever you want to do it. That'd be huge. Probably Southern Hemisphere. Let's go with that. It'll be one of the two. But I think if Israel fights that same fight that he had against Vittori against Whittaker, I think Whittaker can push that pace and will enjoy that fight
Do you think?
more than because what happened in the first one, Whittaker, of course, really, really went after him, really trying to put him away early. And then Israel, that was a puncher's chance fight. Israel, of course, has a great history of kickboxing and striking, so he can put guys away, and he won that fight and put Whittaker out. But it's not to say that Whittaker can't compete in that method. And I think a more methodical fight like this was with Vettori, I think Whittaker can win that.
Really? Man.
So if that's the type of fight it's going to be, I'd back Whittaker in that one. If it's going to be, gunfight where they come in blazing and just shooting bombs on each other, then Israel, I think, is more technical in that kind of situation. So if I'm Robert, I would have watched that fight and gone, I can probably win this. I would have won that fight if I was instead of Vittori in there. If Israel was going to take that more relaxed position to sit on the outside and take the counter-fighter and avoid the takedowns. So,
I think that's the big question: is Israel a little bit too comfortable at the moment?
I don't think so.
Can he be shocked?
Well, he went up and fought Yarn at bloody light heavyweight. Like, you've got to give the procs. He's not sitting around. He's not idle either. Like,
He's a great champ. He's a great champ, and he's one of the faces of the.
I think he's fought 5 times in the last 2 years.
That's what you want. You want a fighting champ,
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
But I think you're right. And it is that division. He can only beat what's in front of him.
Yeah.
Like what else is he going to do to beat? He just all he has to do is beat him.
True.
And he did, and he
Well, he was
soundly beat him,
playing with Vittori. You saw what he was doing, towards
Yeah,
the
that's
fight.
and a few fights
that as
ago,
well.
that's
Yeah,
what we
it's
loved. We loved those antics in the fight. But now it's like,
is he
okay.
getting
Well, he didn't finish the bloke.
too
so.
complacent?
I don't know, and that's
Well,
it's a whole part of the fight game.
Fight
You're like, you
rounds,
want it is entertaining as well as
Oh,
Yeah, I agree.
he definitely brings the entertainment.
Anyways, moving forward. Paul Gallen, Justice Horney. Gal, for the first time in his career, got touched up last night. He did last 10 rounds against the heavyweight champion of Australia.
I think he's very lucky to the last 10 rounds as well. The ref probably could have stopped this earlier at some points, but
I agree with you, but I don't think he embarrasses himself.
no, I don't agree with that. I think Gal quickly worked out there's levels to this shit. Let's put it that way. Because no matter what round it was, no matter what highlight you watched, Hooney was touching him everywhere. Like Gal might throw one body shot, and then Hooney would throw back 2 body shots and an uppercut. And do you ever fuck my carpet up, bro? Get it over the table. I can clean that at least. So, and like his hand speed was so quick. Like,
And then
you just see the different levels on it. Like, we can talk all about Hooney being he's not a fighter he can promote at the moment. He doesn't have a huge following. He still needs to learn. Well, he's young. He hasn't,
He had 4 professional fights or something like that.
Exactly. And Gallen was kind of put him in the mainstream. That's why they took this fight. That's why they shelled out the big difference in the purses as well. But then also, he didn't show up on an NRL 360 to promote the fight. He didn't really get stuck into any of the trash talk. He's stayed within his, barrier, whatever you want to call it, his box. Didn't really kind of come out there. Gal, of course, carried the promotion of this fight. But from a pure athletic and fighting potential, he was clearly way
dominant.
Yeah. So, as part of that dominance, Gal came after the fight. It looked like he broke a rib in the second round. So that really, every time Hooney went to the body, it really, really hurt him. Fight 8 rounds with the heavyweight champion of Australia is pretty good.
Tough.
There's a bit of criticism on Hooney that he stuck behind his jab too much and didn't throw the right hand. And he only really threw the right hand towards the end of the fight, which is what ended up stopping it. He could hit Gal at will. Why didn't he put him away? Maybe he wanted to get some rounds in. There was some chat about that in his last fight. Like, we'll happily take the rounds in the sparring. You're winning this easy.
That's it. Practice for Olympics.
That too, because he goes away in a month. But yeah, I think that it wasn't a highlight. What would you call it? It ended up one of the best images and photos that came from this was Gal shooting and double leg, trying to get the tackle, taking him down. He was spent by that point, and
forgot what sport he's playing.
Yeah, he's exhausted, broken rib.
Yep.
He's not winning this fight. He's trying to slow it down essentially, and just like, we'll take a breather with this.
Tell you what,
they stand him back up, and Justin gives him 2-piece, and his legs go wobbly, and the ref's like, I've finally seen enough. I've seen you being beaten up for the last 3 or 4 rounds, doing absolutely nothing.
You say what you like about Paul Gallen. He's a sportsmanship personified.
He's got a chin. Like, you can see where he's got the professional athlete from, and like the grind.
Outside of the chin. Took a photo with the bloke, got on his Instagram today, said, shout out, Justice, you're the better fighter. Mate, for mine, earned every $1.5 million.
That's it.
Dollars that he earned.
I think he also came out saying he wants a rematch with Hooney, but after that rematch, he wants to help, I guess, for lack of a better word, mentor him and get that sort of sports persona and start
promotion
talking up
side,
fights and promotion. So, definitely hats off to him to be able to turn around quickly and give props to Hooney and
because they want to beat him up.
Be that mentor.
He needs to beat the Kiwi Parker. He needs to then go up into the level. So then if he wants to compete against the top heavyweight dudes, get in that conversation with, let's call it the big 3. Well, it's a big 2 with the third one who's been third wheel at the moment. And we'll get to that in a minute. But if he wants to get to that kind of level, he needs to promote himself so people want eyeballs. It's all about eyeballs.
And I mean, it even just comes back to the sport in Australia. Like, you've got Tim Tszyu starting to pick up. And so, it's just good to see that sort of commitment within the sport from Gal to want to promote the sport and at all levels, really, at all weight classes. So,
for sure.
To finish this off, some other interesting news. Barry Hall has 2 official fights booked, one in August, one in October. They haven't announced the opponent yet. There's also always been talked about the rematch with Gal, Sonny Bill Williams for either one of these 2 as well, but there's something happening in the prize fighting former football player world. Let's put it that way.
It's our equvalent of Port YouTube stars and TikTokers, isn't it? Yeah, footy players, boxing, 100%.
Yes, it's the same thing.
If an Aussie TikTok bloke went in the ring, the people who would have bought tickets to it would have just done that to throw beers on his face. Like, no one's going to pay to watch that. No one cares. But footy players, God, they're in our periphery every day of the week.
Well, I guess we'll find out when Peps goes up against Barry Hall.
Hey, Peps has a mean reach. I got you in there, Pep. We're going to have a good camp. We're going to have a good camp.
I shook his hand once, and it's much bigger than mine.
You do mention that, Macca, and I'll cover it really quickly. There was that bloody YouTubers versus TikTokers boxing card. I think the YouTubers won it 5-1 in total. So they had, of the 6 fights on the card, they won 5 of them. That's enough of that. Let's keep moving on.
Yeah, that sounds very boring.
I got as much air as that.
Move on to back to real fighters. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder.
Yeah, so they had their first official press conference. The fight's in July the 24th. What was interesting about this was Wilder didn't take any questions. He sat there with headphones on the entire time. His trainer answered all the questions. Then they had a 5-minute face-off. It was 5 minutes, 33 seconds or something like that.
Ridiculous.
Tyson's there with his gut hanging out, his jacket off. He's actually trying to put on weight. He's trying to get to 300 pounds, so 130 odd kilos. So I think they're talking about, he's talking about, I want to put on the weight. I want to finish Wilder early. He's no good. Like he hasn't learned anything from the last fight. I've improved so much. I'm going to go out there and staunch him. But the face-off, man, it's probably one of the weirdest press conferences of all time.
It's just strange, hey? I copped it. It was
I'm pretty sure it was a Guinness World Record for face-offs. Probably more of a staring contest than anything. They literally stood here for 5 minutes and
looked at each other.
Yeah,
it fits in with the whole, like, their storyline. Like, no one wants this fight. You want Fury, Joshua. This is just weird. It's just odd. Like,
this is a speed bump.
It's a thing. Like, it just is in the way.
Yeah.
It's in the way of what we really want.
Do you know what's so dumb about this is, though, if Wilder wins, they then have to do the rematch.
That's the awkward thing, the rematch of this.
And then the rematch. And then,
so if you're a fan, you just everyone's backing Fury for this.
You want Fury to win so you can get the Joshua fight.
If Wilder wins this, then it's an endless loop.
It's a big L.
And look, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like they're very close. It's just Fury's at his peak right now. So you want him against Joshua, when they're both fit and firing. It'd just be so cool for the sport. But
I love how they stand here for about 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's a long time.
It's a long time. But after about 3 minutes, then both teams come out. So then there's like 30 blokes on the stage just around each other. And then they stand there for another, say, 2 or so minutes. And then Wilder's like, yeah, I'm done. And then he finally walks off. And Fury's just like, yeah, all good.
Well, it gets to a point. After probably a minute.
Stupid.
After about a minute, you go,
what the fuck?
Well, now it's actually a mental. Now it's a mental thing.
Yeah. He's going to back down.
So I actually get it. Like, if you do walk away, like, I've got that on you. And you will think about that.
Yeah.
So I actually kind of appreciate the pettiness of it.
Well, I think Wilder's got massive music playing, so he can't hear anything. Tyson's trying to stuff you chat.
I think Tyson's got
just
permanent music playing in his head. He's just got like a nice little jig playing in his head the whole time.
Same as mine. Do you think Tyson looks a bit fat there? Or?
Well, as I just said, he's actually trying to put on weight to get to 300 pounds, which is 130-something kilos.
About 137, I think.
Which actually is an interesting point because in the first fight,
Dangerous, yeah.
he was heavy. He lost weight for the second fight, and now he says he's putting on more weight than what he would have fought at in that second fight because he's trying to get the knockout early. That's essentially what he said. He wants to finish him early. So as in, like, I'm going to have more size and more mass behind my punches. I'm going to put you out early.
Yeah, I got that.
Interesting.
But, oh my God.
That can only play in Wilder's favour, though.
Do you reckon?
Mate, if you get him in the deeper rounds.
Unless he does get that knockout in the first couple of rounds.
This is weird. It goes for a long time.
No, I actually appreciate it going longer because now it's at the point where, now I can't be the first to look away.
Yeah, exactly. They've
For us, it's weird as hell, but they're in an actual board because
it's a mind game. So
if you actually think about a boxing match, like 12 rounds, you actually have to stare at each other for half an hour. Like that's all you're doing. So that's what they're thinking about now. Like,
I love how the Cameron dude's trying to make this interesting and
well, that's the other thing now. It's us watching blokes watching each other. So
Peps has got better calves than Wilder.
Bro.
Poor Wilder.
I think Wilder's got better punching power. Let's put it that way. Marks, can you skip ahead on this shit? Keep going. Yeah, then keep going. Go to the bit where and then the teams appear, as I said. And then the teams are all here just in case something pops off. Nothing's popping off. It's never going to happen. But then now there's shitloads of bloke on this stage just watching these guys just staring at each other.
How good's the fucking mask on the chin?
Yeah. And Fury starts walking up and down. And then Wilder finally puts on the glasses and then walks away.
Yeah, that's massive. That's so big. Like
reckon?
Fury. Yeah, I reckon that's huge, man.
He stays there. Like he's trying to prove the point.
Now,
It's like,
this is good. This is the easiest thing he's done for the last 3 minutes. Is stand. He's like, oh, how good.
yeah, I'm still here. I'm
I'm
good.
still here. You've come to me.
Yeah, I'm just taking it easy.
That's
What's going on,
massive.
Danny?
No, once you pass about a minute, I reckon you've got to just stay there until the other blokes move.
Yeah.
He looks like a fat dad.
I think that's his beauty, Peps. He's just a fat dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess who's stronger always? Dads.
Dad's strength.
That strength is wild. We still have a month as well. Anyway, we got 6 weeks.
Exactly. How tall is Fury? He's over. He's 6'7".
6'8".
It might even be 6'9". He's tall.
He's very big.
6'9", nice. And that was our fighting segment on the Esky
Yes.
here. I've just looked at we're over
From
nearly
fighting to
It's fun,
football.
bro.
from fighting to football.
Football.
The football
It's
has
one and the same, isn't it?
yeah, isn't it? Really, well, it depends where you're playing, isn't it? Really, if you want to be one of those Southerners there, you play nice, pretty ball. But if you want to come up north here, we'll play proper fight and stuff.
That's good.
That's good
gear,
quality
good
here
gear.
on the. That's good gear. Soccer's
But-
actually leaped the golf, so
We'll get to your Monks. Do you have a height on?
200. No. 2.6
Meters.
Meters. What's that equate to, Peps?
2.6 meters.
2.06. 2.06.
He's 9 feet tall.
The tallest man that ever lived.
2.06,
2.06.
which equates to what in feet?
206 centimeters.
What does that equate to
Yeah,
in
that's
stupid
the
measurements?
one.
That's
That's
why
very
place value is key,
It's
kids.
like 6'9".
6'9". That's what I thought he was.
2.6. That's good. That's good gear, son, isn't it? All right,
Anyways,
yeah,
All right.
football.
Let's
This
talk-
Brady's out.
let's wrap this bitch up. All right,
We got heaps to talk about. So,
Italy, they go through Group A.
what you got UEFA standings there, James? I don't know what the fuck you're doing.
What?
Italy goes through Group A. Can we agree? Wales probably go through.
Well,
Good on them.
mathematically, Italy have to go through. They've won both their games convincingly. No one talked about it in pre-tournament, but this is one of the best tournament teams in the history of football. No shock.
Half of them play together, so
And it has to play into it. Like, again, they don't have that stud player like a Portugal does with Ronaldo. But they're just a very, very good team. They go through. We've still got Wilder on. Wales upsetting Turkey is very cool. I thought they were a bit more evenly matched, but Wales a bit spunky. They might be a bit of a darling of the tournament. Shout out Daniel James, Gareth
they
Bale,
made
and the
the
like.
semi-finals of the last Euros.
Wild. Euros always bring something weird. Greece won it not long ago. Actually, it
did.
was long ago. Was it 2004?
Yeah, we were young. Yep.
It was a while ago. I do remember it.
I think it
a while.
was 04.
But it's interest always. The Euro is always interesting because there's always that team that kind of just gets red hot. Like that's the thing. You come off your different leagues and how you're playing. You might have guys that may be a bit underdone and other guys that aren't underdone, and they just come out and they're red hot. Monkey has finally found the statistics. So as we said, Turkey haven't won any
So we got
games.
Italy.
Italy goes
So
through
Switzerland versus Switzerland have to win that game pretty handsomely.
against Wales.
Go Wales. Oh yeah, hopefully Wales go through. Group B, Belgium. This we said Belgium. They're a pre-tournament. They've had a pretty cozy run here. Russia seem to be the best. Second best team, inverted commas. Finland. We talked about Denmark earlier in the piece.
Yeah.
It's not like the
It'll be
that
hard.
reeks of emotional victory for Denmark somewhere along the line here in the tournament, and they'll have Ericsson shirts on throughout. You can just tell that's amazing.
Group C,
Yeah,
pretty much poo from mine.
Netherlands, again, they'll make it far and then gag in the finals somewhere. Shout out North Macedonia for not embarrassing themselves. They actually scored a goal against Austria. So
Pandev.
in the Group D, with the Pommies, they put away Croatia 1-0, didn't they? Wasn't it all right to see? Football's coming home, isn't it? There's no, after watching that first game.
What about when we go north of the border?
There is no way. Hey, we'll get to that. That's very good from you. There's no way England win this tournament after that first game. There's no way they win it. There's no way. The pre-tournament favourites it's an English team in football. But you want to talk about Scotland, didn't you? Didn't you want to talk about the Scottish?
Hey, come and have a look at me, you fucking daft cunt.
How did you say? Oh, is that the Esky stress?
I'm bruised.
It was.
This is so
You
bad.
got to take that out.
Speaking of. And
All right,
You can't say that.
Let's get into the tennis.
did you see that goal, the Czech Republic guy from halfway?
Unbelievable.
I don't know what the Scottish goalkeeper was doing. He was halfway up Edinburgh. He was having Argus halfway off the pitch.
He's having a look down the far fairway. He's having a look for my bars in the first fairway.
Anyway, the Euros are going on. They'll still be going on.
How do we get to golf?
Let's skip.
I'll do tennis so quick here for our fans at home. I know. Well, I've got breaking news actually on the Esky.
How many groups did we miss? Portugal,
all of them. All of them, man.
Portugal,
Dear
good.
God.
Spain, good. French, good. All right, we're good. It doesn't matter.
They're all good. We'll get to that next week. I've got breaking news here on the Esky as we roll into our tennis. Rafael Nadal has withdrawn from Wimbledon.
Ooh, that's big.
And he's withdrawn from the Olympics as well. So Rafa has withdrawn from sort of the two next big tournaments. His body's just a bit cooked, and it's going to lead into what happened.
Does that leave in that anti-vaccine vegan coward?
Yes, it will lead us into said coward. Novak Djokovic wins his 19th Grand Slam at Roland Garros. He goes up to one behind Rafa and Roger, who are both tied on 20 with most all time.
We love the Joker on the SQ, don't we?
Do they believe in vaccines?
I think they do, but we won't do that now. But bugger it, we will. No, we won't. I'm not a Djokovic fan, but what he did at Roland Garros was pretty remarkable. He handed Rafa his third ever loss at the tournament in the last 12 years, and it was a bloody good game. I know,
and he was down 2 sets, I think, to Tsitsipas as well, and he came back and won that in 5. So
that final was just
he good at tennis. It doesn't mean he's not a good bloke. Like
he's a horrible human.
Fuck that guy. But he's good at tennis.
I know no one here is a massive tennis fan or watch the match, but that match with Rafa was all time. And it was a 4-set match, so you might say I didn't go the distance, but every sort of point had a bit in it, and he was just better. Rafa and going to that point, who's going to finish with more? Yeah. I think Federer and Rafa look to be really winding down, whereas Joker is just nearly peak of his powers at the moment. So, like you said, Sean was down 2-0 to love, as we say, talking tennis.
Yeah,
sure, British again. We were in français, tu dis
Je me parle maca.
But he grinded. It was a classic Djokovic, just grind out. Do we have women's cricket on? You have reached witching hour here on the Esky is into the doldrums. Djokovic, all-time performance in the semi and the final. I did want to make this point. Federer is, this golden boy, the cleanest player ever. He actually caught a bit of flack. He's been injured. And he
pulled out of this, and he didn't win. He
just lost today. Yeah. So it seems like he's sort of used the French Open as a bit of a warm up for Wimbledon. He knew he wasn't going to beat Nadal, let alone Djokovic, at French Open. So everyone's like, "Wow, you can't use a Grand Slam as a warm up tournament. I don't care who you are." So he's the first time I can remember in his career where he's copped a little bit of heat, and it's only minor embers at that.
Yes.
Leading into his pet event, which is Wimbledon 2 weeks away, but. But he did go down today. I think it was at the All England Club.
Lead in small tournament.
We talk about these young boys coming up. There is still that group, but these three are still the best. So Rafa being that's Brett. That's fresh on the Esky. Shout out my younger brother Damien, who just broke that news about Nadal about 15 minutes ago. So Hot news off the press on the Esky here. No Nadal at the Olympics. No Nadal. Shut up, Pepsi. No Nadal.
let's go to golf.
At Wimbledon.
US Open this week. Who cares what happens last week? There's a major coming up. We'll track that as it comes. What's going on in the F1 this week, boys?
Another quick note. There's a race that's happening Sunday in France. Ocon has re-signed with Alpine for 3
15
years.
minutes on those notes and you fucking don't even
we just skipped over the... Oh, well, I can go back to it. You know, the Brysons versus Books.
I'm doing an after Esky this week.
Who won last week?
Who cares about last week? I wrote a fucking red hot preview about the US Open.
There's a major this
It
week.
would have started as well. Put the golf on, would you?
Yeah.
They're good notes about the US Open. Whatever. F1 apparently. That's what we want to hear more about.
I agree with you, Macca.
I'm just conscious, conscious of the time.
What do you mean? Where we go? Oh, it's 3.5 hours. What if it's 4 hours?
Yeah.
No one was listening anyway.
It's not midnight yet. Look, we keep going.
Talk about F1. Monks, lead us into the Monks chat there.
Peps just wants to talk about the quality athletes on TV. So the F1...
line and length, baby.
You're already on a warning. I don't want you to change the channel. He's going to say something.
So... As I mentioned, there's a race coming up. A bit of an outcome.
Any Beyonce chat?
Fuck me. Shush, Macca. To finish off, Pirelli came out during the week that there was no failure in the tyres from the race. We talked about the big 2 blowouts. Of course, Verstappen for them happening.
There was rumours that Red Bull had played around with the tyre pressures, and that's what Pirelli were blaming on Red Bull.
Yeah, so Pirelli blamed Red Bull, and then Red Bull came back and said, we followed the guidelines and what they told us.
Yep.
So each blaming each other. Water is wet. That's what we expected. Anyway, we'll see how the race goes in France. Back on a more of an open circuit than a race circuit. So I think that's all the sporting news we have to talk about. I think we'll finish up before we get in trouble and get cancelled. Thank you, boys. Thank you, Macca.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for an excellent session on the Esky.
Go Black Kips.
I apologise for the last hour on the Esky.
I think that's the best hour.
It is.
Witching hour here.
It's the hour that we are most intoxicated. We thoroughly enjoyed it. If you enjoyed any of the On The Esky to this point, please like and subscribe. Drop us out in the comments if we have been terrible. Thank you, boys, for coming out as always.
Get around the Instagram.
Get us on the socials. Tell us how poor our dribble is. We love dribbling on a Thursday night. I think that'll do us.
Thank you.
See you next week.
Catch ya.
Thank you. Bye.